Who's that?
There we go, folks. We are live and you will be able to see me very, very soon. But before we get there, let me thank everyone for taking time out on a Saturday to come and join us here in the chat room. We've got Billy in there. Big shout out to Billy. All of our mods queuing up. We've got Nana. I see Polynation in there, the one and only NanoGirl. And of course, NanoGirl is S bar in the chat room, folks, in case any of you didn't know that. Joseph Skynet, Armand, we've got Paula, so many people in here. We've got Max, we've got, oh wow, we'll give them all a shout out as time goes on, but I'll just get the next screen up and we'll get ready to get into it. But NanoGirl, here we are. We had such a good time last week, same time, same place. That we did say we would try and come back this week, right? And well, here we are. We're here. We're live. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I am very, very good. And of course, last week we were on TFR, Truth Frequency Radio, and we were doing our annual breakdown of the Economist cover, right? And as per usual, what many people won't know is they've fallen in love with your information over the years, and we cram so much into every show, don't we? But what people usually don't know is when we get off air, you're sitting with about maybe, and this is no exaggeration, folks, maybe 10 pages more full of notes that we could have got into, but just not enough time. And you know how I operate. I usually take NanoGirl here, there, and everywhere. And by the end of it, I usually feel absolutely terrible because this woman puts in so much time and effort to put all these notes together, and we probably maybe cover a third of the topics that you've got lined up. So tonight, I don't know how long this stream's going to be. I certainly don't have any time restrictions. I'm not sure how Nano sits with that, but there's no rush and we can get through everything that you've prepared for us. It's going to be awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I was teased, Kev. I've got like 20 pages on my desk, and then I have this little other thing and more pages, but it just kind of helps me stay focused while I'm doing a show. So, but thank you. I'm so looking forward to this. I had a great time last week.
And you were singing during the intro there. I thought, maybe I'll just turn the music off and let Nano go for it.
Oh gosh. Here we go.
No, I'm having some fun with you. But yeah, I see the chat room. It's filling up absolutely nicely. My view counter, for some reason, doesn't seem to be working on the stream, but that's okay. I can add a new one in as we go. That's nothing for you to worry about. And of course, everyone here knows, big fan of Unirock. And I was saying to Nano before the show, it's probably going to take me a couple of years to get up to the speed and the quality that Uni puts out there. And that's understandable, right? Because I come from the world of radio normally. So this kind of thing, it's still new to me. I absolutely love streaming, no Nano. Because, you were even saying yourself, 2019, we really need to be up in the game. We need to be adding the graphics. We need to give people something to look at to really back up what we're talking about, right?
Well, yeah, like I was saying, being in the tech industry, you got to update yourself about every 3 to 4 months. I mean, there's always a new piece of software, you have a new computer, you have all this new technology, everything is, and the way you communicate with each other at work is changing constantly. You have to update your passwords constantly, which of course makes sense and is that's the right thing to do. But you're always forced to learn something new, which is, it's good, right? You don't fall behind. So there's always these new ideas and how you can communicate. Like we have, the little office jabber thing, and then you've got, and I have to say, there are some amazing WebEx Zoom tools out there, and that truly we do have a collaboration situation at work where you can just talk to anybody, anywhere, anytime, all over the entire planet. And it's mind-boggling sometimes.
Oh, it really is mind-boggling, Nano. But, we're here to discuss The Economist, but you gave me another title that we're kind of going to give it as well. And it's different versions of the same.
Yeah.
And social engineering. And of course, the social engineering, that always comes into it for me when you're talking about people like the Rothschilds, like Tavistock, stuff like that. And so much of our reality is basically manufactured for us, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to Emily Moore. I want to give her a big shout out for this title tonight or this afternoon because this is something that I've been feeling for a pretty long time. I mean, name a subject. We were talking about ufology before the show. Some of the other subjects that we're trying to come up to speed on, like, where's the economy really? Did China really land on the moon? I don't know. I mean, just all kinds of things. And we seem to have this regurgitated meme for different subjects, and it's just different versions of the same thing over and over. And I feel like, and that's something I said last Saturday, I feel like we're running in place. I feel like we're in front of a blue screen, and it looks like I'm moving, but I feel like I haven't gotten anywhere, and maybe that's going to be something that hopefully we can start to view differently in 2019. I sure hope so.
Absolutely. And Kristen, I share that sentiment that you're putting in the chat room there, that we're blessed to be continuing with this topic this week because, like I say, NanoGirl barely scratched the surface last time. And tonight, we're not only going to be continuing on, but we're also going to be looking backwards in time as well, Nano, right? Because 2018 into 2019, this isn't the first time The Economist, this isn't their first kind of go at this, is it? And we've been talking about this for a few years as well. And I'm going to bring up the 2015 cover now, right? And I'll let you kind of speak to the audience about where we're going and what we're getting into here.
Yeah, when last week somebody said, how many hits did The Economist have for 2018? So I threw out a couple of covers for Kev to kind of go over tonight. So if we start with, if we go back, I have a couple of pictures here too. If we go back to 2015, and so what I did was first I looked at last year's, and what you have on the screen is perfect, Kev, so leave it right there. But this is what gave me the idea. So last year was the 63 icons all over that cover. I don't know if you guys remember all that. It took me hours to even try to figure out what every single one of those meant. So I was lucky to be blessed with a lot less icons than this year's. But then I started thinking about it that, something in sales and marketing is that you have to repeat something at least 10 times before anybody hears you and goes out and purchases a product. So doesn't it make sense because I do think The Economist is always after us to, they're part of the social engineering. Let's face it. I mean, this is the Rothschilds. This is the New World Order folks, whatever you want to call them. And their game is to have us view what we do as we think it's our idea. Last night, as I was telling Kev too, he had such a great show. Sorry, I'm probably going to be freaking all over the place, but don't just hang with me. I am getting to a point here. That Jimmy brought up a good point. How do you herd 7 billion people on a planet? Social engineering. And every country has their own way of socially engineering all of us. Like America has American kind of social engineering. We got the red, white, and blue, and baseball, and apple pie, and mom. And then, no matter what country you visit, you go to Scotland, France, England, Germany, China, Japan, everybody sort of has a way. And I think that they're all in cahoots. They're all learning from each other. Once China gets done with this social software stuff where you're all rated on points, and if you don't do what they say, they don't let you get on the trains, I'm sure they'll shift that software somewhere over here or all over the planet because that's going to be something that works very well for them. So going through the cover and looking at those icons, I thought, oh my God, look at what's on there. And so if you look at some of the ones, even from 2018, we've got Trump and Putin, and we've got we've got autonomous cars, we've got the happy face, the sad face. Last year there was an article called Bye Bye Baby. So supposedly we focused on a lot less births worldwide of babies. And then this year we're talking about sequences and DNA and designer babies. We had autonomous cars last year, pollution, military stuff. We had shots for Africa. thanks to the Bill and Melinda Gates organization. So, and so Kev, if we can kind of go back now to 2015 again, let's start with that cover.
There you
And we
go.
start,
That's up.
it's up.
Yep.
Okay, I'm
And
seeing
for
2019.
yep, that's okay because remember the YouTube version's behind.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
You're behind. Yeah,
So
so I got to,
so
okay, so I'm going to pretend like it's
just
there.
for people who might not have been privy to any of the analysis that we done last week, or maybe you
Yeah.
might be a new person coming to all of this, you might be wondering why in Earth's name are Kev and NanoGirl spending so much time looking at the cover of a magazine. And that's because this is the publication of the Rothschilds. It's not something that they just read. It's literally something that they own and they put out there. And as Nano rightly stated last week, they still have a very big hand in The Economist. So when the Rothschilds, one of the 13 bloodlines that are rumoured to rule this planet, and I certainly believe they have a big hand in it, from banking to social engineering to everything that makes up our reality, I think you have to really pay attention, as myself and Nano and so many others do out there. We're not the only people that do this. But that's why we pick The Economist over, say, GQ or any of the other plethora of magazines that are out there. So 2015, right in the centre, my least favourite guy in the world, it's the Obama Nokia. Over to you, NanoGirl.
Yeah, one of my faves. Okay, and so you've got the usual players. You've got Merkel, who, as I mentioned to Kev, I think that with her announcement that we don't need any more sovereignty, she doesn't. We don't. They don't need to be have a. Germany no longer needs to be a sovereign nation. I think her job's done. I mean, she's been on the cover. She was on 2015, 2016. We'll talk about the one after that, 2017, as we go through these. But the thing that I want to bring your attention to, because you guys all know the usual players, and we're not going to spend too much time on the covers, but in the lower right-hand side is our little friend Alice from Alice in Wonderland. And what occurred to me is here we have what we talked about for 2019 with the backwards writing that you had to look in the mirror to read it is through the looking glass. And that was kind of the theme from last week. And I thought, and here we have little Alice from Alice in Wonderland. They seem to love that book. And again, through the looking glass, and she's looking at all the players. And I thought, God, how befitting is that? So if we take it to the next one, Kev, which is 2016, this is the last cover in the last 2 or 3 years where they have people, real people on the covers. So if I also looked at the ones from 2014, 2012, 2013, and 2011. It looked a lot like the 2015, 2016. You had people, colors, little icons, little cutesy things kind of floating all over the covers. But then when we zoom into, and there's the one, okay, that's that 2016, exactly. And interesting enough, in the lower right-hand corner is that little character that's half man and half goat, which as we kind of move ourselves into all this sort of transhuman DNA, changing everybody, doing all kinds of things to the human body. I mean, that kind of occurred to me too, and that's from 2016. Again, Merkel, the Clintons, Gates, of course, Elon Musk, all these other guys that were big players back then. They've probably all fulfilled their mission. And we moved on then to 2017, which was the beginning of a different look for this magazine cover. And this is the one where we had the tarot cards.
This is where the one for me, Nano, where you really started the kind of lifted the veil. We were kind of left to speculate that they were messaging things, an occult kind of practice going on, revelation of the method, stuff like that, which they call it, which in magical terms means when you hide things in plain sight, it not only increases their chances of bringing to fruition what they're trying to do, but it actually increases the chances of all of this coming true, what their magical workings. And that sounds really strange, people, I know that. But you've got to understand it's not what we believe. It's not that we sit around doing magic or anything like that. But the billionaires on this planet for centuries absolutely have been tapping into occult powers. And that, as well as the social engineering, Nano, is what enables them, the few of them, to run 7.5 billion of us, right? But when they're showing you the tarot cards, like I say, the veil was coming off it, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, they picked some of the most powerful tarot cards in the whole deck: Tower, Death, Judgment. And interesting too, in all of these, they Trump certainly gets the bad rap on all of it. Again, I'm not defending the guy. I'm just saying it's kind of interesting. And the other thing that I was wondering too is, in talking to Kev today, did they also start to change the view on the cover because of all the tech stuff? In other words, we tend to see things with emojis and icons and all kinds of little sort of almost cartoon things. But yeah, I think you're right, and I think that I think another thing that came to me when Merkel made her announcement was the gloves are off. There's no guessing anymore where they're headed. You know, they have made it very clear where they want to go and how they want to get there. And so all of us know very clearly that this is where it's headed. Whether we end up there, I don't know. But like you said, definitely the gloves are off. So then if we go to 2018, this is the one that was like so icon laden. It was crazy. It was 63 of these things, and there was in 7 colors. So you had the pink and blue and yellow and white and green. We had the smiley face. If you remember last year, China got the smiley face. This was beginning of the prediction of 2018. China got the smiley face because they're the good nation. America got the frowny face because we're bad. We're bad people. We voted for the wrong person. We're just not behaving as we should. I'm sure this year we'll get in line again.
Oh, look what they
But
do over here, Nano. We didn't behave when it came to the Brexit vote. So if at first you don't succeed, just try again, because they're still talking
yeah,
about making us vote again. So yes, we're naughty little children for not obviously succumbing to the programming and the fear that was meant to make us all stay in the EU. So absolutely, Nano. And for me, last year's cover, this one we're looking at now,
mhm,
when you're looking at all of these individual icons, so subjective, right? Because you could, without looking inside the cover, where it talks about all the different stories that kind of match up with what's on it. I mean,
yeah,
for somebody like me who just does the imagery, there's so many different angles you could take it, right? And I really struggled with last year's one, that one we're looking at, as
yeah.
opposed to the one that came out this year. Totally in your face this year. They're not really making it all that kind of cryptic, shall we say.
Yeah, this one, I mean, I always keep my notes from the shows, especially if we go into a lot of technical detail or detail. So I actually have the notes, thank God, from last year. I think I wanted to actually frame this. So I literally have a paper with all of the icons drawn on the paper, and then what you and I struggled to come up with. I mean, you helped me fill in. I remember I couldn't find 8 of them, and you and Johnny Whistles helped me fill in, you know, all of the ones that I couldn't figure out. But again, it's a lot of the same messaging, uh, Brexit, and again, the Trump and population growth. You know, what also occurred to me reading last year's, kind of updating myself on last year's magazine and this year's, who do they think they are? Ha ha ha, we all know. Giving a rat's patootie. What countries have so many people? I mean, it's like they feel like it's their right to do something about the populations in different countries, like China, like India, like Africa. It's none of their damn business. If Africa wants to have 700 billion people, that's their choice. You know, I mean, oh God, it just wrinkles my chains. You know, it's like, and they're always making comments in a lot of articles about how many people and what should they do and how do we handle it. And it's like, well, who made you God? You know, I could see them writing an article from the view of, this is where a lot of children are being born. This is what's happening, but Africa's able to feed them now or whatever, things coming from that perspective. But they always come from the perspective that this is their planet, and this is something they need to worry about or they need to deal with. And it's the same way that Bill Gates and Melinda Gates approaches the situation as well. It's like, well, God made us richer than God, so now it's our choice to go ahead and decide what we want to do with all the population.
And Bill
Go
Gates, I
ahead.
mean, listen, anyone can go back and look at his talk about vaccines and in particular when he talks about carbon dioxide, he talks about zero carbon emissions and even talks about bringing the population down to zero. He talks about death panels, even though they're a little controversial, but he talks about death panels. And like you say, Nano, who are these people? They're just humans the same as us. Okay, they've got mega zeros on the end of their bank accounts, but that doesn't give them any God-given right to rule the planet. And what's even worse is they think they are gods, equal to that. I'm absolutely with you on this, and I like how you described it. A rat's patootie. I like that. Family friendly. We're all family friendly here. I like it.
No, I'm trying to just watch the language.
No, that's cool. See, this is why we get on so well, NanoGirl. 175 people watching, Nano. Sweat's pouring off my hands already. Absolutely. But yeah, this one, like I say to you, when this Economist came out 12 months ago, I took a look at it and thought, wow, where do you even start with this one? So yeah, I think we've done a good job on that though, as we have done over the years. And you were even saying as well to me, and it's something we both agree on. This one here, we'll look at this one for example, the world in 2018. And you look at the imagery, and myself and Nano, we were projecting 12 months forward, literally looking at what would come in the world in 2018, which it tells us. And some of the things do occur the following year that they are highlighting. But we also think there's a longer term plan as well, Nano, don't we? Because some of the imagery that you see in some of them, it's almost as if you're getting a look at their long term goals. Like sometimes you've got maybe the best example would have been the tarot cards. There was one with a bunch of protesters, there was EU flags, there was yellow people in it. And that obviously now makes a lot of sense. It might mean nothing, but you look at what's going on in France and the yellow vest protests, that's absolutely huge news. Yet they told us about that 2 years ago. So it's almost as if the 12 months might not bring about their plans fully, but they certainly kind of foment the conditions that lead to that maybe further down the road, right?
That's exactly what I started to see today.
Nano, you keep going because I need to go and open the door. I just need to go to the door. So you keep talking about this and I'll be back in 2 seconds, okay?
Okay. So answering to what Kev just said, because I haven't ever gone back and really reviewed a previous year like I did today and this weekend, and looking at what were some of the things that they predicted, and yet we're dealing with it now. For instance, in 2014, they actually predicted that there would be a technology backlash. Well, we've started to really see that in 2018, and yet they predicted it in 2014. I didn't see it then. I mean, I'm in the tech sector. I didn't see that there would be such a backlash because I didn't think that Google and Facebook were going to be doing the things that they were doing, like A, selling our information, B, shutting down sites, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, that all kind of came to fruition pretty much to the forefront last year and the year before, but certainly I didn't necessarily see it in 2014. And so what I'm seeing as I take a look at some of this stuff, and it's probably worth my time to save all my notes from all these years, was what do they predict now? And then kind of foreshadow it into the future.
I'm back, NanoGirl. Don't panic.
Yeah.
I'm here.
No, and I'm agreeing with you. And I also think, like you said, and go back to, if you have to repeat everything 10 to 20, 10 to 12 times before people buy the product if you're in marketing and sales. So these guys have been doing their magazine for, what did we say, 175 years as of last year?
Yeah, and they've been doing this one. See, this is another reason, and I'm going to bring up this year's one so people can see it. This is
Yeah.
another reason that we feel this year's one, the world in 2019, is of even more significance, right?
Yeah.
Because this is the 33rd time that they've put out the world in. So this is a big anniversary for them. And that number 33, to all of you people out there who have spent time looking at conspiracies, the occult, secret societies, and namely the Freemasons, okay? 33, huge number, power number, and that's why it might mean nothing, Nano, right? But I think we both agree that there's an extra significance to it.
Absolutely. And the last one I want to show, if you don't mind putting the one in where Trump and the gang are all underwater with the White House.
Yep, there you go. It's in.
Okay. I woke up this morning, and this is how I do the show. I will prep all week, and then the day of the show, everything comes together. And then I panic. It's like, oh my God, do I have enough time? But this was the vision that I saw when I woke up this morning. The one where he and, is it our little buddy from North Korea? Yep, it's our little buddy from North Korea. By the way, Trump and the missus will be visiting North Korea, Kim Jong-un, and his missus in 2019. Can you imagine having to be Melania and have to visit Kim? Oh, God.
I reckon it'd be quite fun going to see little Kim. I'm just joking.
My God, not me. Oh my God. Out of all of the things that this guy makes her do, I have the utmost respect for Mrs. Trump. I think that you want to talk about grace under fire. I mean, the woman is a saint. She did an amazing job this Christmas decorating the White House, and they just absolutely landed all over her. They did a picture of them in the White House. They absolutely landed all over them. You know, it's like, oh, this is terrible. It's atrocious, blah, blah, blah. And maybe you don't like him, but I think she's beautiful. I think she's gracious. She's smart. She speaks 6 languages, I think.
She's nearly as nice as Sarah Palin, nearly.
Oh, no, I can't believe you brought her name up.
It's okay, though. No, that's the last time I'll ever mention her because I've got a new favourite American politician and people are going to start throwing things at the screen here.
Oh, no.
That's half the reason I'm going to bring it up. And Nano, you're gonna hate on me as well.
Is it Nikki Haley?
Oh, well, apart from her, yes, she's quite pleasant. However, is it Ocasio? She's really...
You think she's beautiful?
Kind of, and I think it'll really annoy people, so that adds to it, yeah.
Oh my God. That really, I knew you had a sick mind.
It's all in the eye of the beholder, as they say, NanoGirl. You know, and I'm waiting for
I have to go throw up. I'll be right back.
Don't get me wrong, she's absolutely bat crap crazy, and I think that's half the appeal.
Yes,
probably, but... Yeah.
Oh no. Okay, I'm going to have to get
those
somebody
dark eyes
that
and
I
dark
think is
hair,
cute,
you know.
just to annoy you. I'm going to find somebody that I think, this person will annoy Kev. I'll have to think about that.
There you go. That's one. If you can recover from that now, because I can tell your temperature's boiling. If I was in California right now, NanoGirl would be coming around to slap me, right?
I just it was palm to head. I'm speechless.
You see, I knew it would have that effect. But anyway, moving on now that everyone's absolutely flabbergasted at me.
All right, there's just 17,000 things wrong with that last conversation we just had.
Absolutely, okay. Armand. I agree with that. Absolutely agree with that. I'm not saying any more. NanoGirl, over to you.
Okay, so this was the picture that I thought of when I woke up, and I thought, okay, this picture came out, what do you think, about 2 years ago? I think it was during the election season.
Yeah.
He was, or maybe he just got elected. He looks rested in this picture. And I thought to myself, if ever this was perfect, this is now. Because as I had said before the show, I think he's in so much trouble right now. We have the vampires led by the head vampire, Nancy Pelosi. From my perspective, she has moved from Skeletor to vampire. She's like those vampire movies when you go to the bad vampire, like Lair, Liar, and they're in their coffins, and she comes out and she's evil and vicious, and she's like the queen because she's 1,000 years old. That's her.
Yeah.
That's Nancy Pelosi.
I agree with you there. Don't worry. Nancy Pelosi does nothing for me.
Okay, thank God. Oh, God. I'd have to hang up.
You see, we can have good fun with this, right?
Oh my God. Anyway, so I think our buddy is gonna have to start snorkeling or swimming, because I mean, you got the financial crisis, you've got the vampire crisis, you've got the wall crisis. Whatever side you are on the wall, doesn't matter. It's a crisis. The thing is still shut down over there, and people aren't getting paid. And by the way, he and Pence are supposed to get a raise. It was supposed to take place yesterday or go into effect yesterday. And so he's asking people, well, maybe we should just, in deference to the people not getting a paycheck, we'll just put our raise on hold for now. I don't know. You're like, oh my God, dude, you're in so much trouble. So,
I know.
anyway.
I guess that. I'll calm down now. I'll behave, NanoGirl. I'll have a word with myself. Anne's here now, so she'll certainly keep me in check now.
Tell her to get the frying pan out. I threw up. Okay, I'm going to just highlight. We're going to move on to the next to 2019 in a minute, but I did want to just highlight a couple of things to answer the person's question from last year. Did we see some things that we think actually came true from the articles from last year, the predictions? And some of the articles, one was Bye Bye Baby, and that we're going to see less babies being born in 2018. I think we probably did see that. Another article was human obsolescence. And we've spent a lot of time this year talking about robotics, and things like that. So they're continuing to move this meme forward. They had an article on geoengineering and should it take a bigger role in climate discussions. Well, for anybody that has any kind of brain, that choo-choo train left the track, and the horse left the barn, and all that a long time ago. There was an article on dictators. Should they stay or should they go? I didn't particularly see anybody do anything brilliant or put their country first, so tell me if I'm wrong about that. Big article on reaching for the stars, which I think we certainly have done that.
Nano, are we still on the drowning picture, as I call it, or do you want me to bring up this year's cover?
Yeah, let's go to 2019 now.
Okay, no props. I'll bring that up.
I think we're ready to move on. But the other thing that I did want to bring up too, from last year and this year, and then we're gonna highlight some of the top articles. Kind of like, I think I've got about 14 of them that I kind of want to bring up that I think are interesting trends that they're predicting for next year. So we'll finally kind of get into predictions. We're not going to go back to the cover or anything, because we already pretty much covered that last week.
And there will be a period of time, if Nano's still got time after we go over this, where we can take a question and answer session from the chat room. I'm happy to do that. Nano, if you're happy to go into that as well.
Oh, yeah.
Afterwards, because I'm really keen to keep it really interactive, because that's one of the things I like when I watch a stream. And I'm sure as we talk about these things, again, it's all very subjective, this, right? So people are going to come up with their own ideas. And like we said last week during the premiere, and I think that worked really well. It was a pre-recorded video from the show we had done on TFR. But, this time we'll actually be able to answer the questions live as opposed to just typing them in the chat room. So that will come, folks. Don't worry about that. We'll be able to take your ideas on board as well, because both myself and Nano, we certainly are not privy to what these definitively mean. We can try and make sense of them, and for some reason we usually kind of, people really resonate with it. Somehow we've got a keen eye for this, NanoGirl. But like you would agree with me as well, the more we get looking at this and inputting on it, the better, right? Because not only will we learn, but everyone else out there too, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. We said that last week.
Yeah,
We said that you cannot do this by yourself.
yeah,
It's too complex. They have a whole, what do they call it? They actually call it that. Their intelligence group that does this magazine and probably does their monthly magazine, right? So every one of these articles, it takes me a very long time to read them, and I have to digest them, and I have to figure out what they're trying to say and then what they're not trying to say, and the double entendres and all that kind of stuff. So absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely, and especially the covers.
yeah.
So I'm glad to stay and answer questions. Absolutely.
Nice, nice. So then, where would you like to really kind of kick this off then, Nano? Do you want to talk any more about any of the images that we didn't cover last time, or do you want to get into the articles that were in there?
We're going to get to the article, so you can leave that cover up if you
Cool.
want to.
Yeah.
That's totally
And
fine.
if anything,
You don't.
like as you talk, if I hear anything relevant, if there's any images I can find online to bring up to support it, or anything else, I'll do that. Just you take us through the articles, my dear, and we will crack on.
Okay, it sounds good.
Yes.
So the first article, and these are the ones that we did not discuss last week. So I'm not going to bring up any of the ones we talked about last week because, as Kev knows, I don't like repeating myself. And so we're going to focus on the articles that we didn't talk about or mention last week. So the first one is called The Trump Show, Season 2. And actually, again, reviewing all those covers, I would say that this is probably The Trump Show, Season 4 or 5, because The Economist has been bashing on him for a pretty long time. So I would say it was a little longer than that, but that's okay. Anyway, this is going to be a very tough year for him. They've predicted that every year since he's been in president, and then the year before that. But I think it's going to be even harder because I think that he's got so much on his plate. You've got the economy, the wall, you've got the shutdown, you've got the vampire squad after him.
The Vampire Squad. I love it. A brilliant name for it. Very apt.
It is, isn't it? I mean, my God, we've gone from, the Skeletors, with all that plastic surgery, and we've gone right into vampires. But I wanted to read this one sentence or one little paragraph on this because, again, the way that The Economist sets up their articles is it's set up like Mad Magazine, where you've got the little things in the middle of the articles. Remember Spy versus Spy? And that's all over these articles inside the magazine. And then they have these little like snarky remarks and funny titles. And a lot of the titles are very Yoda-esque. But the only reason I want to read a couple of these things is because the double messages. And you'll see what I mean as we kind of go into it. But so this is their view of our president's what he has to face for 2019. So the outside presence has brought extreme reactions to his credit, and they are calling him Disastrous Donald, has been a catastrophe. A man whose abuses of power and divisive rhetoric threaten the fabric of American democracy, whose transactional and bullying approach to America's international leadership is economically illiterate, morally bankrupt, and geographically short-sighted. Now, who does that sound like? Really, in all fairness, does it sound like everybody in the Swamp Show?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say the Vampire Squad all acts like that?
Sounds
I would.
like almost a checklist if you want to be a politician. And for anyone out there, just in case they don't know me, Nano, I am entirely apolitical, as you know.
Yes.
I don't trust any of them. So if you hear me bashing on Trump today, don't worry, because I give equal and fair time to bashing on the other side as well. So, like I say, none of them that I've ever watched in this country or yours, aside from JFK, but I'm too young to remember JFK. And I understand he wasn't exactly the kind of angel that maybe we're led to believe he was. I certainly think he would have been the change, right? But for me, in my lifetime, they've all been criminals. None of them care about us. They're psychopaths. So that's where I stand on it.
I think they're all compromised and they're all bought. I don't think anybody gets. I've actually come to the epiphany, if you will, that even the people like Gates and Zuckerberg and some of these other guys, they get to have the money, but they have to play the game. And nobody gets to be in the billionaire club or the millionaire club with any kind of power unless you're willing to play the game. I think there's a certain code of ethics and a certain set of rules. And I don't mean ethics in the sense of you're a good guy or anything, but I mean, I think you have rules and they can wipe you out in a nanosecond. We all know where the money sits. And if you don't play the ball a certain way. So I think that these guys all have to play a certain game. So even Donald has to play a certain game. But I wanted to just read the second paragraph. And this is from, according to The Economist. And the reason I'm reading this is because, again, this is selling the New World Order. So at the very end of the article, it says, bring on the builder. What could he do right? He could pivot any Chinese attempt at encroachment. He would pivot from 2 years of wrecking ball tactics to make a start at building a new world order. Though, yes, that's exactly what they're saying in this magazine. More reflective of 21st century realities, designed to manage the rivalry between the United States and China that will define the century. Now that's pretty powerful.
Interesting language as well from my
Yeah.
kind of, when you look at the occult side of things, we're talking about the 33rd edition of the World In. And he's talking
Yeah.
about builder. I mean, the master builders, stuff like that. Very Masonic language. And the New World Order, you know, people used to post these videos online all the time, Nano, didn't they? When you seen elites and politicians and people mentioning a New World Order. George Bush, the old Daddy Bush, when he was talking about the New World Order, stuff like that. And here they are now. I mean, this is them, they're openly talking about it. And that's the one thing I have to say, as much as I bash Trump, he certainly seems to have been the biggest thorn in a New World Order's side, right? So I can't take that away from him. Absolutely not. And the way that they vehemently hate him, it certainly seems to me like he is their enemy on the face of it.
I would agree with you. And something that I saw reading through these articles, and again, I may pull in a couple of more paragraphs just so you guys can hear it yourself. But what they're selling is that educated people, civilized people, cultured people, people who love humanity, they are the part of this new 21st century. And they don't say world order like we say, ooh, new world order. It's more the new order, or the new, you know, it's like this, it's this amazing thing that we're all doing because we all love humanity. And that's how they're selling this. Again, I think if I had not done the deep dive on this, I would never have quite picked up on it. So I'm really glad we're able to do part 2 here, because we didn't really have time last week.
That's why I appreciate it, Nano, because I would only get so much of the story by only looking at the imagery. And that's what me and Nano have done. I came at it from just look at the cover, give my thoughts from the stuff I've learned about the occult, the symbology over the years, and then Nano can go inside the cover to see what's actually been said. And then together we come together, and that helps form a better picture, I think, Nano. So I absolutely appreciate the time you've put in, not only to read this, but to put all this together for us. So thank you on behalf of me and everyone else out there, you know.
Oh, thank you. It's, again, you know, I think that, you know, it's funny. I always hear people who do shows together right before the show. We were saying, but we were,
we were
that it's real important to figure out what's real, and it's real important to figure out what our social engineers would really like to see us do, so we can wake up and hopefully try really hard not to do it, or at least be aware that they're trying to do it, and capture these words that they use to, you know, hypnotize us, or, you know, whatever it is. That's not the right word, but you know what I'm saying. Brainwash us into feeling like we're doing the right thing when actually we're just following along. And again, this is all part of the 7 billion people herding game.
Yep.
Herding, you know? So,
And that's how they look at us. They look at us like cattle, like sheep.
yeah,
They literally look at us like a herd. They think there's
yeah.
some divine species above humans. They really do. And that's the best word to use for it, Nano. Absolutely.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. So, the next article, regulating artificial intelligence.
Nice.
I know. So their perspective on this, just in a little bit of a nutshell here, is and this is their words, the answer is not to create a specific set of laws for AI. No. The best response is not to regulate use of AI directly, but instead to concentrate on rules about how personal data should be gathered, processed, and stored. Now, let's talk about that. So here, it's like, you got to be kidding me, right? So their whole thing is you don't want to put a cramp on this. You don't want to stop it. But maybe you could say, well, hey, don't sell their data or make them feel like they've got some choices, blah, 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 blah. So here's their last paragraph on this. As in the Industrial Revolution, automation will demand changes to education to cope with shifts in the nature of work. Yet there is a little sign that politicians are taking this seriously. Instead, many prefer to demonize immigrants or globalism. Now, I find this pretty interesting, considering we were talking about regulating artificial intelligence, which basically what they're saying in the article is they really don't want to do that, and that our leaders need to pay more attention instead of demonizing immigrants and globalization.
Yeah.
Okay, that's on one page, peeps. And you're like,
and of course, over here, I mean, I think the whole demonization of these immigrants. Now, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
There's bad people in the world, and it doesn't matter if you're Islamic, Muslim, Jewish, Christian, no religion. You're going to get bad people, okay? And there's going to be bad things happen. But we can't start accusing every single people that follow one book or another of being bad just because of that. And we've got to remember that these people, the Rothschilds in particular, the elites, their main thing is to keep us all divided. And right now in Europe, I see the problems, Nano. You'd have to be blind not to see the problems. It's kind of a cultural clash. I get that. But it's from the really nastier elements, the bad people out there. And if they weren't Muslim, they would be bad anyway. You know what I mean? They're bad people. But I think they all want us at each other's throats over this immigration thing. They really do. And adding to that as well is the fact that most of our tax money over here in the West is spent on bombs and bullets, right? And when we go and bomb the hell out of countries and displace people, we shouldn't be blaming them for something that's been caused on purpose. This is all an agenda. It really is. So absolutely, there's a big kind of split down in Britain when it comes to immigration, migrants. You can see what's going on in Europe as well. But I just think it's really, really kind of stupid for us to start blaming the people themselves, when in reality, we're all being used, we're all being herded for a reason. And this clash, this kind of division, that's a big part of it, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think every one of us is being used. I think those of us who just work and just want to live a regular life, they take that money and they do something with it. I think, we are very powerful beings. We take our energy and we give it to a corporation and they do things with it that we may or may not like. And then that makes money for them. I mean, it's there's something that we have that they need and they use it. And then they dry us up and throw us out. And I agree with you. And I think the people that, even these caravans, they were promised, they were paid, they were put on a bus, they gave them money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it was a big, giant game. But it's very difficult to figure out how to deal with it because it is also impacting people's countries. And they're making laws so that if people are attacked, like in Germany, right? I think you had somebody on your show who's talking about that, things that are going on. So I think my point here isn't so much about that particular subject, but the fact that I don't understand what it has to do with artificial intelligence and regulating it.
No, I've got absolutely no idea what that's got to do with the immigration thing at all. However, they
Right.
must know how it fits somehow, right?
Well, that's a big part of all these articles. I mean, I'm going to give you a couple of other examples as we go through this, but it's a constant banging on us about their agenda. And it's obviously the New World Order, globalism. You're going to love it. Just go ahead and eat it. We don't really, and then they go on in this magazine about elections and democracy, and it's really a good thing. And I'm thinking, yeah, but you guys are doing everything you can to undermine it, but it's these kind of comments like this in the middle of a discussion, and yet they really don't want to regulate artificial intelligence because that's another way that they're going to control us.
Exactly. Elon Musk, you know how I don't
Yeah.
often talk about Elon Musk. I'm not his fanboy or anything much, right?
Oh, yeah,
But
right.
he's
Oh,
obviously
give me a
one.
break. Oh, did I say that out loud?
You did,
Sorry.
Nano. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? See, I can hear your thoughts now. But no,
Oh,
all
God.
joking aside, I mean,
Yeah.
he's one of the main kind of proponents for regulation. And when it comes to the artificial general intelligence, I mean, how do you regulate something, NanoGirl, that by design is going to theoretically rewrite its own code, create copies of itself, and pretty much learn to the point where it exceeds anything that the people that wrote the algorithms ever imagined in the first place? How on earth's name do you regulate that? How do you keep that genie in a bottle?
Oh, I don't think you can. And well, first of all, I think it's too late. I
Yeah.
think this article, when I first saw it, to be honest with you, in the 2019 magazine, I thought this is about 5 years too late. How many times have we heard this? I go to all those conferences. I hear this. This is crap. It's BS. They're not going to regulate it. They're going to use it. And it's going to do everything that they want it to do. They're already using it. So,
I think a better way
again,
to
yeah.
regulate it might be, to do away with the idea of these autonomous weapons. I think there is a place for AI, absolutely. I mean, it could solve a lot of the problems in the world that every single one of us, to a man and woman listening to this, could agree
Yeah.
on that we need to solve. Hunger, stuff like that. All the answers about where we come from, where we're going, looking at space data, things like that. A lot of the stuff we like, Nano, it could do all that kind of thing. However, when you start allowing it to control weaponry and no human in the loop, that's something that we could regulate. And even Geordie Rose, as much as I always kind of bash him, even he says it should be a war crime to use artificial intelligence in this kind of scenario, as in, i.e., automated weapons. So I don't know about, maybe they could put some kind of limit on where we can use it, how we can use it, possibly. But again, I think that genie's well out of the bottle because of the money that they spent on all of these systems. And that's just the ones we know.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree with you more on that. They're not going to stop it. It's doing exactly what they want it to do.
And you work in Silicon Valley. I mean, you work there without talking about the
Yeah.
companies in detail or anything. I mean, this is the biggest game in town, I would imagine, right? That and the robotics.
It's definitely one of the biggest games in town, and you at least as a company, and this is just not any place just that I'm working, but anywhere, have to have the word AI, machine learning. You have to at least have to have AI, maybe Internet of Things in your portfolio. I think going forward, that's going to be a must-have. We have software, we have products, we have marketing, we have AI, we have, there's going to be this checklist.
That's what I said to Joe Joseph, any company really right now, they're going to have to start adopting AI into their model or they're going to get left behind, Nano. Absolutely. And I'm not talking about it taking jobs, things like that, but it can come in
Right.
and optimize like your actual business. It can see
Yeah.
where maybe you're wasting money here and you could be putting it somewhere else to even better use. So it's like when the internet came along, right? You had some of the older companies saying, this will never take off. Internet shopping, people won't want that. And these are some of the companies that, well, they're kind of a thing of the past now. And if companies don't adopt this technology, and it sounds weird, people go, but Kev, you warn about AI all the time. And there's so many different levels of AI, isn't there, Nano? But I definitely think, they're going to be left behind companies that don't start to embrace what AI can do for them.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And then I think going forward, 5G, and then going past that was going to be quantum.
Yeah.
Whether Satan's running around those hallways or not, it's gonna be a thing there, Kev.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should go to the next thing. The next article is this is Speak Up or Be Silenced. I'm not going to spend too much time on it because we have talked about it, but this is about democracy. And again, I laughed through the entire article because I'm thinking, you guys don't care about this, but okay. But I did want to read this one little nugget paragraph here because I thought, wow, this could go anywhere. So anyway, this is speaking about truth to power. They in the last piece of this article, and again, it's about democracy, and it's important to spread it, and it's important not to lose it, and it's important to keep it in your country, blah, 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 blah. But the very last piece of this whole article is called Truth to Power. Even Russia's Vladimir Putin is looking weaker. Isn't that interesting? And then you kind of scroll down. As writer Anne Applebaum recently put it, the dictatorships of yesteryear were built on the big lie. Think of grand theories of Stalin, Mao, and Hitler. Today are built on medium-sized lies. Think of Mr. Orban's presence that George Soros plans to flood Hungary with Muslims. Such lies need frequent debunking. Isn't that interesting?
Is that lies, though? Because we know George Soros, he's usually at the heart of all of these mass movements of people, mass political movements as well. And quite...
Kev, that's my whole point.
Yep. Yep, exactly. Exactly. I'm just sitting here thinking, wow.
This is crazy making. Mm-hmm. I mean, I read this like 3 times.
They talk about fake news. Can I call The Economist fake news?
Fake magazine?
Fake magazine, yep. Fake news.
Fake predictions. But again, the only reason I'm bringing it up is, again, this is such perfect social engineering. I mean, how many people might actually catch that? I'm not clapping myself on the back because most of the time I don't have time to read a magazine this thoroughly. But I thought, oh my God. Anyway.
And I must admit, you think of their target audience,
Yeah.
It's not the kind of thing that I would normally buy and take on the bus if I was going on a journey or something like that. It's not the kind of thing you would usually find lying around and say a doctor's surgery to kind of peruse over while you're waiting to go in either. They've got a target audience, really, don't they? And it's almost as if they're doubling down on keeping the programming for those who read The Economist, because people like us, especially in this kind of genre and the audience we're speaking to tonight, I can't imagine maybe there is people out there that have got a subscription to The Economist, but they've got a very target audience, don't they? It's almost as if they're kind of reaffirm the lies, just to combat everything else. All the voices that are raising right now, pointing out stuff like we're pointing out tonight.
Well, look at whose articles were posted here. Angelina Jolie, right, responding to refugees, which we went over last time, and Laurene Powell Jobs, voting rights. She's Mrs. Jobs, Steve Jobs' wife, widow. And she talks about voting rights. And in her article, she says that Republicans are very guilty of stealing votes. It's all the Republicans' fault.
And if you speak to most Republicans, they'll say it's all the Democrats. They're the ones that rig elections.
It's both of them. They both steal votes.
It's like I've sometimes described it, left and right, they're like 2 cheeks of the same mutated bottom.
Well said.
Yeah. There's no difference. There's just a fine crack down the middle.
Oh, God. Moving on to the year of the vegan.
Yes, vegan. Yes.
So I'm not going to spend much time on this because I'm not a vegan, but I mean, there's a lot of people that are. But there's two headlines in this article, and by the way, it's only half a page, where millennials lead, businesses and governments will follow, predicts John Parker. Here's why I find this headline very interesting. Our poor millennials are already so broke, feel so hopeless, have no way of buying a house, have no way of owning very many things, and yet, in a lot of articles are coming out that they're leading the way, which I find fascinating. I thought, well, you've already put them in bondage.
Mhm.
They can't buy a house, they can't buy a car practically, which they'll be the perfect autonomous car owners, right? Because then they'll just, like Uber, they'll call for their car and then it'll go back to the garage and pick somebody else up.
And
But
somebody mentioned that in the show last night, actually. Car ownership, you'll probably end up working for Uber to get a car. It'll be like a deal you do,
mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I predicted that. That's one of the predictions I did come up with when I first went to the couple of autonomous car conferences. I listened to them and I said to somebody standing next to me, and this was like 3 or 4 years ago, and I'm not always a great predictor. Some things are obvious, some things that go right over my head. But this one I said, you know what? We're not going to own a car. We're going to borrow a car. We're going to lease a car. So then we'll use our iPhones, our iCar phones, and then make an appointment to have the car pick us up and take us home, and then it'll go take somebody else, or there'll be a bunch of other people in the car with us.
And don't worry about driving. Don't
Nope.
worry about the driving, because on the cover you even see it. They've got the electric car there. And of course, with the electric car, you've got to really roll into the autonomous vehicles as well. Not just
Yes.
Tesla, but so many other companies working on that now as well, Nano, isn't there?
Is it Waymo? Waymo? Wait, what's the one what's the
Waymo,
car?
yeah, I think was it Waymo?
Google, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it Google?
Yeah.
Yes, it's Waymo. In fact, I did a little search on that. I heard recently, I might have heard this on your show as well. This was in the last couple of days that there was an article, and this is the one that is located in Arizona, Google's autonomous car. People are throwing rocks, slashing tires, targeting their Jeep at it. They hate that thing because one couple went after it because it almost killed their son at the end of a cul-de-sac because it didn't see him. See it. It didn't. The AI didn't figure out their kid was at the end of the cul-de-sac. So there's a lot of variant, and the article was like, that's not a very nice way to handle this.
No.
It makes sense to me.
There's going to be a lot more of these teething problems like the cul-de-sac thing you brought up there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to leave that one alone because I don't really want it, but there it is. Okay, now the next thing is election 2020. Now, if you're an American, this is like the worst 2 years of your life. Now begins. In fact, Elizabeth Warren announced her candidacy for president in 2020.
She's a right ticket, her, isn't she?
Oh, God. So, the Pocahontas?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm 1024th Chewbacca. Does that... You didn't know? It's ridiculous. No, I'm sorry. But no, 2020... I thought the last election cycle was crazy. This one's going to be even worse, Nano.
It's going to be even worse. So, one thing I will hand another star to the Economist for who they predicted last year would run this year and who they're predicting this year will run this year. They actually did a pretty good job of lining them up. In 2018, they said Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Julian Castro, who's the next mayor in Texas, Elizabeth Warren, and Senator Sherwood Brown, I think, or Sherwood, anyway, from Ohio. This year, The Economist is predicting Kamala Harris, Bloomberg, Elizabeth Warren, Biden, and Gillibrand. Kristen Gillibrand. She's a junior senator from New York. She has Hillary Clinton's post. So these are the folks that from the Democratic Party that are out there saying, we want to be president.
What about, and it's going to be an unpopular thing, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but what about Michelle Obama? I've heard her name mentioned in the past. Oprah
Yeah.
Winfrey. Even The Rock at one point was put forward, Nano. Any chance any of these, do you think?
I think that, sure. I think that this is the early, if I was going to run for president, I would never declare it December, January of a year and a half before. I personally wouldn't. I would wait. Mm-hmm. And I would wait another 6 months, like in the summer. A lot of people do that. They'll do it in the summer, kind of late entries. And that way you only have to suffer the ordeal about a year. This is awfully early. And I've already seen Elizabeth Warren's commercials. She has one out where she's, with family, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. I think it's early. I think they're going to throw around Hillary's name. And I'm still stand by my thing that person that we see that shows up with Bill is not the original Hillary. I mean,
well, we even can look at when she was taken away to Chelsea's flat when she had a bit of a funny turn. And I'm not going to knock the woman because she was sick or anything at the time, but I agree with you.
Right.
There's definitely more than one Hillary Clinton. If that makes sense. People are like, what is Kev talking about? But I mean, look at Saddam. I mean, how many body doubles did he have? Bin Laden. They certainly used more than one Bin Laden over the years, especially in the mainstream. And I would think most of these high-level kind of billionaire politicians, even just for security reasons, without me going into the woo-woo and the cloning and all that stuff, Nano, absolutely. So I can go along with you there. 100%.
I mean, when the camera pans close to her and you see a side view of whoever this is, there's no wrinkles. Her skin looks really, really young. For somebody who's supposedly in their 70s, I'm not buying it. So I'm just saying, and I don't usually say that because, that's really stepping off a ledge. But I'm standing by that. I don't know who it is, and I think that she is such the Hillary Clinton machine. I'm going to call it that. Is such a powerful money generator, and such a powerful generating icon for the Democratic Party. They can't afford to let it go. That, it's kind of like Roy Rogers and Dale Evans. Well, it's a really long time ago. It's kind of like the Star Trek logo or NASA logo or, Nike logo. The Clinton logo, where regardless of how I might see it, I still think generates a lot of money for that party. So they need to keep that fear.
And somebody threw out the name Johnny Whistles for president. Probably the best name we've said so far, right?
I'd love it. That would be great. Mr. Whistles. He'd be perfect.
No, they would get him into the Oval Office. They would sit him down. They would show him the Zapruder film. And they would say, any questions, Mr. Whistles? And he would say, no. Nope. What do you want me to do? Where do I sign?
Nope. I'm all done.
Yep.
Well, he'd bring his little shotgun.
Absolutely.
Okay, so here's the first of our Yoda, our continuation of the Yoda titles of an article. This one's called Noises Off. And it's about the Obamas reemerging as active public figures.
Oh.
Noises off. Can you do a Yoda on that one?
No. Just no. No, it's got to be a random one. See, when I try and do a Yoda no. I'll sneak one in as the show goes on. I'll just randomly do one, right?
That'd be perfect.
Absolutely.
To answer your comment about Michelle, I always thought she was going to run for office too. I don't know.
Yeah, I've always had that inkling that she might. And by gosh, she would have the support. That Democratic base would be falling at her feet. You've got all the women's kind of march stuff, the pink hats, that kind of thing, they would absolutely love it. So I think she would be, whoever picks these people, she must be on the list.
I think so.
Yeah,
And they would be smart to, I think she would be quote unquote a shoe-in.
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're agreed on that. Okay, so let's kind of keep moving here. Now there was a very interesting article on Mr. Trudeau and populism moves north. And this is more coming from just like some predictions for Canada. I think Mr. Trudeau is going to be in for a very turbulent year in Canada, as is Mr. Macron. Something interesting I didn't mention from the 2018 magazine is there were high hopes for Macron.
Yeah.
They praised him highly. They said he was going to be the new Teddy Roosevelt, the New Deal. And the Yellow Vest people are out protesting him for what, 8 weekends in a row now? Is this the 8th weekend, 7th weekend? So I don't think they're appreciating the New Deal.
And
And
just
I
for
think,
anyone who thinks that's a picture of President Macron with his grandmother, that's actually his wife that he stood there with. And for people who don't know, he was literally groomed for office. And I don't just say that for effect, because there should be a picture here somewhere as I'm scrolling. Well, there's him in school, and I imagine one of the people sitting right behind him. Oh, there we go there. Yeah, there's his teacher. Yeah, they started dating when he was, I believe, 14, 15 years old. Now, ages of consent and stuff over in France, very, very fluid. So, but he went from school into a job as a Rothschild banker. So you can imagine, or I can imagine, having not read anything about this cat in the actual Economist, they probably had uber high hopes for this character.
you know, I'm going to throw this out here. You're a guy, and you know guys way better than I know guys. But one comment I'd like to make about Macron is that, and I hear it often, he's a child. And I've often heard that men actually mature and grow when they commit to their children, and if they commit to a family, and they really have a commitment, right, to a wife and to, or a significant other or children.
All right, and me
Which you,
personally, I'll talk from my experience.
okay.
Before I had my son, I would have said, "Nah, I'm well growing up. I know the score." Didn't have a clue. So for me personally, it took having my child, having a son, to really give me a kick up the bum, to sort my life out, give up the partying ways, and get a bit of maturity about me. So for me personally, yeah, absolutely. And I think, I can't speak in general terms, Nano. That would be wrong of me, but I've certainly seen things like that around me as well.
I actually heard that from a guy
Yeah.
who put off having a child for a very long time, but it was his thinking that was true, and I thought it was really interesting.
I was
And I
that
think the thing
selfish.
about Macron is
Yep. I was that selfish, Nano. I used to think about, having a child, that would mean I can't go out partying, or, I can't do this, can't do that. How selfish and how immature is that? Do you know what I mean? And that's just me personally. Other guys out there might be going, that's absolute nonsense. I didn't think that way. And I don't disagree with them. Possibly they didn't. But from my point of view, I have to agree with what you're saying here.
And I also could add probably responsible for another person, but I don't get, when I see him, I still see somebody who's never had a lot of responsibility. Like he's been taken care of.
Very much so. That's a really good way of putting it. Groomed.
Yeah, and so I'm saying maybe if he had married someone different, even if he didn't have kids, because it's not fair to put that on somebody. It's like, well, you have to have kids to be grown up, and I'm not saying that. But even committing to somebody, to being that special person to somebody, and being responsible to, the relationship and growing within that relationship, I think that's also a way of kind of growing as a person too.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, moving on. So I think Mr. Trudeau is going to be in for some wobbly times this year.
He really does take a lot of grief, doesn't he? I can't say I know a lot about Justin Trudeau, but
Hmm.
yeah, from what I read sometimes, and the Canadians that I have spoke to, some of them very, very, just do not like this character.
I think he kind of, well, he was very good friends with Obama's. Very good friends with
So
Obama.
he's
Like
cut from the
very good friends.
he's a globalist through and through. Then I take it, Nano.
Yeah. I think that's what we're saying.
Yeah,
Okay, so the next article, and this one is about the Middle East, how we're starting to pull out. And
good,
this one,
good. Sooner we start sending bombs and bullets to Saudi Arabia as well. That would be a good move. Look at what's going on in
mhm,
Yemen. That is absolutely terrible. We were threatening almost to go to a World War III scenario over things that weren't happening in Syria, and yet in Yemen, you look what's unfolding there, and hardly any talk about that in the media. And I get it. I get it. Saudi Arabia, they can pretty much do what they want. We see Netflix, they're taking a comedy show off of there because oh, goodness me, they went after Saudi Arabia and cracked a joke. Can't be doing that. You look at the way they treat people in Saudi Arabia. It's
which which
it's
is which is headed right into our next comment, which is called the Dark Prince, which is our buddy from Saudi Arabia who managed to kill Kasha. Is it
oh yeah,
Khashoggi?
Khashoggi, yeah, yeah.
Khashoggi, yeah.
I mean, again,
Um,
imagine that was Vladimir Putin. Imagine that had been Bashar al-Assad that had basically, and there's recordings of it,
yeah.
a journalist disappears into the embassy and doesn't come out again. And we were talking about Hillary Clinton's body double, right? I
Hmm.
mean, the crap body double that the Saudis used for that cat, outrageous. But yet, they're Saudi Arabia. They're like the elites, aren't they? They just have this kind of thing where nothing sticks to them. They're like Teflon. Can't touch Saudi Arabia, Kev.
Well, actually, they kind of land on his butt, which I was shocked. I was really shocked. This is their comment about him. Confined to his yacht off the Red Sea coast for his own protection, Prince Mohammed will cast a lonely figure. Shorn of his dreams of Alexandrian grandeur, the 33-year-old will remember the rock star status he once enjoyed among the world's political and business elite. For some reason, this particular act really landed on him. And the other thing I want to throw out here is if you remember when he came into office, he publicly humiliated a lot of the people he put out of power. He fleeced them and threw them in jail. And believe me, I'm sure there's long memories from these people. Remember that whole thing that happened to his other fellow princes or whatever?
Yeah.
I mean, it was not a nice takeover.
No.
So for some reason, this particular act stuck. He's not going to be able to shake it off. I find that really interesting. And I don't know why they wrote an article about him. I don't know if it's because they never liked him anyway, or
There was a lot of
I
stuff,
don't know.
a lot of talk as well. I don't know how much kind of
Hmm.
veracity there is to it, but what we've seen going down in Las Vegas at the country festival,
Yeah.
a lot of people say there was a kind of Saudi Arabian element to that. Maybe somebody tried to take him out, some stuff like that. I'm not sure myself, Nano, but usually no smoke without fire, and there was just too much talk for me at the time for it to be just kind of one of these made up things coming from the conspindustry.
Well, yeah, I kind of wondered about that too in Las Vegas.
Uh,
Las Vegas is another one of those things that make you go, hmm.
Yeah,
It
I
was
mean,
like
we're
too much
speculating. Yeah,
stuff.
we're speculating. We're not saying there's any real hard or fast evidence there, but it's certainly
Right.
something that kind of, me with my gut feelings, Nano, and there was something to do with that. I don't know, but what we were told went down there certainly was maybe just about 5% of the story, as per usual.
Of course, of course. But yeah, it was all very weird. But again, some of the, like I said, some of the articles in here and some of the comments they make, I just cannot reconcile it in my head, considering whose magazine that they.
Mixed messages, eh?
Too many.
Okay,
Okay,
how about
next
this then,
one.
Nano? How about this one, though, right? Just when you say that there. I mean, obviously the older guard and the Rothschilds, I mean, they're going to
Mhm.
be moving on to other
Yeah,
planes of existence, and we've got the younger
yeah.
ones coming up. I follow one, I think his name's David. I think it is David Rothschild, David Michael,
Okay.
on Twitter. And don't get me wrong, he's very much against Trump. He seems very much the uber globalist. But I have to wonder, what happens when you have that changing of the guard? When you have the older ones kind of moving off the scene and the younger ones coming in. And I'm not saying, again, this is just speculation because there's mixed messaging here. And I would think that Saudi Arabia and the Rothschilds probably quite tight, right? But
That's what I would think.
mate, I don't know. It's just when we're talking about it here, just me, my gut, just a wee feeling. Who knows? But your next article, Nano.
Yeah, and I'm going to only do a couple more,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then I'd love to take some questions. But this, I found this fascinating. This is another Yoda title. It's called Slow Social.
Teach you, I will.
Yes, yes, confuse you, I will.
Mm,
Um, I
bloodlines
did
we are.
I did not know that any of these software companies. Okay, so these. This is about Facebook, WhatsApp, social. Social software that you spend your day on is actually taking some responsibility for all the time you spend on it. Is going to help you spend less time. So Facebook is implementing a way that you can actually check the time that you've spent on Facebook.
iPhone, it gives you a report every week as well, how much time you spent on every app, and that kind of app shamed me. That's what I'm going to call it, app shaming, because when I started seeing how long I was spending on particular apps, I was thinking, come on, no danger, and that's made me pull away from some of these things a lot more, Nano Girl.
Well, this one takes the cake in my opinion. This is my favorite. In July, WhatsApp put a limit on the number of people or groups to whom a single message can be forwarded in one go. Instagram, a photo sharing app, introduced a "You're all caught up" feature, which reminds users that they have seen all the new posts from the past 2 days and should really go and do something else. Now, you know why I put this in here? Again, they made us addicted.
Yep. Yep.
Now they're offering therapy.
Yep.
I say no.
And of course,
If I want to read it 20 times, that's my prerogative.
And of course, well, there you go again. It's all about control, isn't it? When you actually describe it like that, Nano, there's absolutely no aspect of our lives that they don't want to have control of.
Well, that's my point. I
Yep.
mean, it's kind of like, oh God, I probably can't say this on the radio. Do you remember that song? I'll use abbreviations. Do you remember a song a long, long time ago? Oh, boy, this is going to age me. It's GD, the Pusher Man. Do you remember that song? GD, the Pusher Man. Oh, they use real words.
Will
Do
it
you remember
make
that
you feel
song?
better if I say yes?
Yes.
Okay, then
It's-
I remember it.
Okay. Well, it's all about being addicted to something, and then the pusher man, right? The person who comes over. And it was a rock and roll song, probably in the 60s or 70s, but it was a pretty intense song. And I remember that song, and all I could think about, because everybody here probably never heard of it, but it was pretty powerful. It's kind of like that song, She Don't Lie, She Don't Lie, Cocaine. Remember that song? Cocaine.
Yeah, I remember that song, Nano. No,
Okay,
I do remember that one, actually. I do remember that one.
I'm going to have to find the other one because it was pretty good rock and roll one. But anyway, that's what this reminds me of. It's like, okay, so here's your free hit, and you get on it for free. Then you get addicted. It's like, okay, well, you've already read the articles. Now, the next thing they're going to do is just turn it off. They'll just turn off the access. Or like a meter, those things where you turn the little gauge or like your timer.
Well, could this
And
kind of tie in with the social credit scoring? If you've got a good
Yeah.
enough, if you've got a good enough score, you're entitled to, more time on your apps. I don't know how far that goes. It could well. I know it's horrible. It's beyond Orwellian. If you could reanimate or get a seance going and contact George Orwell, he would say, "Get out of here, Kev. Stop making stuff up." This was the kind of stuff that I thought would have been too ridiculous for the book, but it's true.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. And the other thing that goes along with that is called meme madness. And this is again about turning all our lives into a reality show.
Doesn't it feel like
Right?
that sometimes, Nano?
Oh yeah.
I mean, we were even saying before the show, I mean, what's real anymore? What is reality? How do we even know what's real? But at the same time, we're all starring in our own little reality show.
Yep. No, that's absolutely perfect.
And if you're over
That
here
is
in
absolutely
yeah,
perfect.
and if you're over here when it comes to memes, if you're in the EU, like I obviously am, make the most of your memes, folks, because with Article 11, Article 12A, and Article 13, memes are going to be a thing of the past. And you know why memes are going to be a thing of the past? Because images and words are powerful. They obviously have the ability to break down people's mind control. Because for years, for decades, for centuries, memes, not the internet memes, obviously, but memes, pictures with images and with writing on them, they have been used, usually, get this, Nano, to socially engineer us. You know, you think back to the time of World War One and things like that, and the posters are, your country needs you. And it made people join the army and go and get killed in a war, for goodness sake. So now over here in Europe anyway, and they'd say it's all under the guise of copyright, you know. You can't be using people's pictures to use them as memes. But I honestly think there's something deeper rooted in it. And I think it's the fact that it really is a powerful tool, as opposed to maybe a 2,000 word essay or something like that we know people won't take the time to read. If you get smacked about the face with a meme the minute one of these big events happens, sometimes that's enough to make people look at something differently.
Well, I think "Make America Great Again." I will have to thank Trump for one thing. I think that when he came out and he actually stood up to all these people, because before then we had nobody who could. Nobody had the money, the backbone, the craziness, the whatever you want to call it, bravado, or the goods on these people, and just knocked them off the podium one at a time. And Jeb Bush, I'll never forget Jeb Bush. It was my favorite. If I had to pick a favorite who he kicked their butts off the podium, it was Jeb Bush.
Yeah.
Jeb Bush showed up like, okay, I'm next, and it was kind of like Trump looked at him and said, "Over my dead body, Jack. You're out of here."
It's the same as when Hillary was talking about things and he just kind of, under his breath, yeah, you'd be in jail if I was president.
I know, it's so perfect. I was intimidated when he came near me.
And I think he had a team of psychologists. Right. I think he even had his own kind of, dare I say it, like social engineers in there to come up with the snappy slogans.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that makes me kind of wonder, you know, did he really tap into the truth community? You know, the patriots out there. Did he kind of knowingly build himself a voting army on the back of that? Because he knew people were getting pissed with the way things were. He goes on InfoWars. Maybe I'm looking too deeply again at things, but it's almost as if he knew if he appealed to these people, that could be enough to take him over the edge, you know?
Yeah. It just, his whole demeanor woke me up. It was like I was like asleep at a certain level that I didn't even realize that I had sort of put myself in a box and tried to tolerate the politically correct stuff that I didn't even know I was tolerating. And then he just smashed it into pieces. It was like, oh my God, what have I done? You know, where have I been? What happened? You know, I woke up. He
made those debates almost, dare I say it again, like a reality show.
They were entertaining.
Yeah, they were compelling. Absolutely compelling. My mum, she fell in love with him, the way he was kind of treating all the rest of them on these debate panels and things.
We were waiting forever for somebody to do something.
Yeah, precisely. So
the last article I'm going to talk about, and let's answer some questions so we don't put our audience to sleep out there. This is, again, to me, the epitome of this entire magazine. The article is called The Great Political Divide. Globalists and nationalists will slug it out around the world. And the one thing, there's a lot of things in here, but the one thing I want to point out, because I think this is extremely significant, I brought it up in the show last week too, is that Trump, this is from them, Trump voters are concentrated outside big cities and are much less likely to have gone to university than their opponents. And it also says, in this respect, Trump coalition is similar to the coalition that voted in favor of Brexit. So, in a nutshell, if you don't like globalism for whatever reason, if you don't like Brexit, if you are outside of the, this globalist New World Order, you're not very educated, Kev.
You see, this
You're
is what I think.
stupid.
Yeah, this is what we're seeing in France, really, isn't it? We're seeing people really saying no
Oh, yeah,
to globalism.
and you're a yellow vest?
Yeah. We're seeing no to globalism, and they say it was over, a fuel tax hike in the prices. It was over so much more than that. Basically, it's globalist versus nationalists. And we're seeing these protests spreading now. And this is definitely going to be a big theme for 2019, Nano. It really, really is. We had some of it kicking off down in England today as well, I believe. I've seen a headline coming through. A teenage girl that was one of the yellow vests. She'd been arrested by the police. And of course, our media describing it as a far-right protest. Now, I imagine you've got the character Tommy Robinson, who I'm not going to get into tonight, but he's probably leading these protests, and that will give it the media every excuse they need to call it far-right. But yeah, I definitely see this clash of people that are balking against the idea of global government, this kind of watering down of all of our cultures, the doing away of, basically patriotism, to be Scottish, to be American, to be British, to be whatever country it is it's changing rapidly, and some people ain't liking that, and rightly so. And when it comes to the EU, that's like, for me, one of the almost the administrators underneath a global government, right? It's the regional governance for Europe. And so many of our laws were coming from there, and it was insane, it really is. And that's why we said no to it with the Brexit vote. So many other countries within Europe are ready to try and leave it as well. So I absolutely, and the Rothschilds know, they know this is coming. So many people are just pissed off with it. They really are. And I get it. However, here's my question to you, Nano. Is the best way to go about this going out into the streets and starting to protest, and some of the kind of scenes that we've seen coming out of Paris, cars burning, people fighting with the police, stuff like that? Because for me personally, as much as I absolutely admire the passion of the French people, does this not in some way play into the hands of the elites? The chaos that they need to bring about that global order that we keep on talking about? Police state powers will kind of increase on the back of it as well. And again, I don't mean to sound pessimistic, and I understand why people are getting to the point where they've got nothing else left to lose, so they're going out and they're protesting. But there's a part of me thinks as well, this almost plays into the hands of the people we're trying to get out of there. What do you think?
Well, I think it depends on the country. I think that sometimes protesting works in some countries and some it doesn't. Like, I'm not sure it works in America very well. I don't think anything ever gets done. I don't know about France. Did you? Yeah, I'm sure you watched Melissa and Aaron's.
That was brilliant. Yeah,
it was really brilliant. And what they noticed from it was that they're pretty sure that the cars on fire were probably started by somebody other than the protesters. The weekend that the cops were on strike, the police over in France, there was no problems. The yellow vest people policed themselves. I've gone to protests myself. I've gone to a lot of protests, and there's always these infiltrators and people that start trouble. There's always double the amount of cops and anybody on the street.
Always people arguing amongst themselves as well. They've got their own ideas, which is cool. I mean, that's what politics is about, right? Debate. But
Yeah.
I'm like you, I kind of backed off. I went through a phase of going to protests with the bedroom tax up here in Scotland with a lot of things. Spent some time wearing the anonymous mask, going out there, marching about like that.
Yeah.
But I'm like you. There was things I seen that I was kind of, what is this the change we're looking for? Is this even going to bring about any change whatsoever? And these burning cars, this is something that's been almost like it's what you watch for when there's a protest, right? Because there's always going to be burning cars, and then you get the media. They all kind of crowd around the burning car, and the thousands of genuine people. And over in France, it was all ages, Nano, from what I'm led to believe, from pensioners to children out there. The real people who are putting on a genuine protest, their message is lost. And I'm very suspicious about the burning cars myself as well, because you see all the police standing back, you see the flames, you see, like I say, all the media attention gets put onto that one place. And then the whole message of what the people are trying to do in the first place, it almost goes up in smoke, if you pardon the pun.
Yes, I would agree with you. And but again, I mean, sometimes the problem that I see, here's what I see. So I don't have a good, I've been asking myself this question for at least a couple of years. When we vote or when we protest or when we say no, they seem to do it anyway. They just do it anyway. It was almost like it was like, well, we just asked you, but we really don't care about your answer.
Mm-hmm.
So you can protest, you can vote, you can do all these things, and they ignore you.
That's what actually happened when Britain went into the European Union in the first place. The government back in the day, I can't remember what year it was, but we became a part of it. And then after the fact, they done a referendum about how people felt about it after we were already in it. And this time, obviously, when it came to the Brexit, our decision to stay or to leave, like we said earlier on in the show, it didn't matter what people voted because they were always wanting to stay anyway, because it's such a big part of a global government. I mean, if, say, the EU collapsed, NanoGirl, I would say that would set back the plans for a new world order 50 years, maybe, generations. But that's how big a kind of deal this is when it comes to the whole new world order thing. And that's why, for me, this was never going to happen. And David Cameron, he fell on his sword over here when he lost the vote. So what did they do? Did they get a new leader to replace him who was very pro-Brexit? Nope. They got somebody who was the most anti-Brexit person in the world and who went by the name of Big Sister, Theresa May. It was never going to happen the way that the people told the politicians they wanted it to happen.
Right.
So,
That's,
yeah, they always get their way, Nano.
I know. And I truly believe with all my heart that this is a spiritual battle.
Yeah.
And so I am approaching it from that perspective. And the second thing that I truly believe with all my heart is that we are really powerful. And we do affect things, but I'm still not exactly sure the best way that happens. I do think if we can come together, I think that they spend an incredible amount of time making us all fight with each other.
Yep, absolutely. All of this stuff, and again, I don't knock people's lifestyles, but you look at the whole LGBTQP, ABC, whatever you call it now, again, very divisive, so we can sit and argue over all of that and so many other things, politics, that'll divide us. So many things keep us fighting amongst ourselves. And the only people that gain from that are the people sitting back in places like Washington, like the Palace over in France and over here in Westminster. They're sitting laughing. Because the one thing we need to do is stop arguing about stupid things that don't matter. And like you say, coming together, that's what really scares the bejesus out of these people. Because that's when change can happen, Nano.
Well, I think a couple of things. I think coming together, they spent a lot of time in this magazine telling me how religion is dead and it's dying and all that stuff. Maybe the old religion, but maybe there's a new one. Maybe it's very different and you can't measure it because we don't end up going to a building. I don't go to a building to worship. I spent, but I do consider myself spiritual inside myself, and I can't get through the day or the week without pulling in that, I call it the higher source, the higher intelligence, whatever, that higher power. And I think there's a lot of people out there probably doing the same. And it may be that we're going back to things that keep us grounded. Because I think the other part of this, Kev, is staying grounded.
Mm-hmm.
That that and then all these health things, with all this crappy food and yucky water, we're having to focus now back on taking care of our friends, taking care of our families, taking care of our bodies, uh, drinking clean water, finding some or filtering it or whatever we need, purifying it or whatever, and then food, getting really decent food so we're not eating their GMO box crap. All that stuff, and I think that all has an effect. Um,
I'm
so
with you. I
I
mean,
don't
we need to
know.
really, so many people get offended at the slightest things nowadays. And I think the
Yes.
perfect example was the song at Christmas time, It's Cold Outside. And you had people saying this was like some kind of rape anthem because it was about, some guy bringing a woman in, plying her with drink and stuff like that. And people were wanting this song banned, Nano, right? And they're getting all up in the air about this one song. Yet at the same time, there was literally people cold outside, homeless, and none of these people making a point about it. I think we really need to look at what our priorities are. And if we could all agree on things like famine, homelessness, poverty, there's three things right off the bat that I think we could all agree that we need to end, right? Instead of being offended by certain words or certain phrases that people use or a song on the radio, I think should all come together and help try and fix these things. That would make more sense to me. What do you think?
Well, I think Joe Joseph said something on your show last night about he was in the military. He was in the military, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
that what he saw with all this conflict crap is very a small percentage of people, but regular people are all around the world want to be left alone. And I've traveled a lot of places, and what it always comes down to is the culture, the people, their families, food, shelter, a job, uh, just your basic stuff. And they just want to love their children and see their grandkids grow up. That's it.
Yep.
That's
like
it. We want to be left
It's
alone.
like Popeye used to say, absolutely fantastic to think global, but act local.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And those things you rattled off there, a home, food on the table, a job, our family safe, no worries there. I think that's what we all need. That's what we all want, right?
Yes.
And we get so caught up in the minutiae and things that just don't matter. They're just irrelevant compared to what you're talking about there. And whether you're Muslim, Buddhist, Wookiee, Christian, we have to stop building walls and finding ways that we're different and appreciate that we're all one race. And we're all in this together, whether we're from America, whether we're from over in Africa, Australia, here in the UK. We're all humans. We all want those basic things. It's not too much to ask for in 2019, Nano, right?
No, no. I actually think that's the bottom line. I think if we can remember that, just remember that one thing, that everybody is just like me in the sense we're all human. We all just want to be left alone. We want to take care of our families, love our families. We don't want to go to war. We don't want to kill anybody. We don't want it, we don't want our armies in I don't want my army in every place on the planet. I would love to be excited about space travel. I would love to know what's going on. I'd love to be a part of that. I'd love to see us as a planet work together to do that, to go to the stars, to go to these planets, to start to build cities or whatever you're going to call them, colonies on the moon.
That's
But
what
we
annoys
get
me.
along.
You look at science, I mean, something like
Yeah,
the ISS, there's no animosity there. There's like
right.
Russians, Americans, there's all sorts working together. CERN, everyone working together happily. Why can't we just all do that? We let governments divide all of us over everything and anything. And yet when it comes to that, it all works perfectly well. And I've always said, why don't we work together? Like you're saying, the moon, something like that. If we had a joint kind of thing, I sound like Ronald Reagan. If we had an outside alien threat.
I think humanity would come together.
Exactly. Maybe me and you should run for 2020, Nano. That's it.
We would never make it out the gate.
Listen, if a Kenyan can do it, a crazy Scottish guy can get there too, right? But how about we dive into the chat room?
Okay.
You up for a bit of that?
Awesome.
You want to do that? Dive in there, see what the chatters are saying?
Yeah. Sounds good. If anybody, I'm reading now. If anybody has any questions or you just want to say something, or absolutely.
Yes. I'm just going to see if I can actually bring the chat room up onto the screen now. If you see any questions in the meantime coming up on the chat, you let me know, Nano. Okay?
I will.
And we will take it from there. Let me see now. Screen capture. What are some of the people saying, Nano? Are they agreeing with us?
I'm agnostic, but I want to believe. I love that. We can get along and respect each other, but they don't want that. They want us to only agree with the mainstream views. I think that's true, Scotty Good. Meatball problems. I like that too.
2 seconds.
They work together because they are profiting together. Well said, Wild Tangent. What if they already have space travel? That is a very good question, Brian, and I wonder about that, and I would guess they probably do.
I'm getting there, Nano. I'm going to bring this up.
Okay, no problem.
We've got a little chat room on the screen, but nothing too good. So if I get this here.
Okay, hold on just a second. Here's this one. This was from Buzzacino. Let me see if I can grab it. If higher and lower dimension beings are are energy beings, and we may be their offspring, growing and learning to be in this in-between dimension, the kindergarten of life, and our bodies are the eggs. I like that. Yeah, possibility.
Buzzacino always comes up with some really deep thoughts.
Do you think they are clearing out the Middle East with migration because of an ice age, and they need the equator empty as is the place to live? Do you have an answer on that one, Kev?
Certainly feels like they're clearing the place out, doesn't it? And then you've got that big building, the big kind of building project coming from my friends over in Saudi Arabia, the future city of Neom. You had Sophia, the robot, becoming the first kind of robotic citizen of Saudi Arabia. Big changes over there. I don't know what's going on at all. And then something that used to be talked about a heck of a lot, it's kind of gone off the scene in recent times, though, is the whole ghost cities over in China. You ever looked into them, Nano?
I haven't, but they really are interesting, aren't they?
Yeah.
Are governments preparing for a large global event? That's from Plower. I don't know. But I will say this. I think there's something going on our planet. I think wherever it is we are in this solar system, something's going on. Does anybody not know anyone who isn't sick or dizzy or some kind of crazy stuff? Could be the food too. Don't know.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of talk about this ice age coming, as opposed to the global warming that we were told. That farcical story by Al Gore, Man, Bear, Pig,
Uh-huh.
I've got some of the images up of these ghost cities, folks. If you haven't heard of these, definitely very interesting. Go and check it out. These are entire cities built for millions of people. Only nobody ever moved into them. So I can see a case being made for, well, it was just some kind of big scam where obviously the party were paying contractors to go and build cities and lots of money was made. I get that. Or do they see a displacement of people coming up in the near or distant future? Who knows? But ghost cities in China, I mean, look at that.
It kind of makes you feel like they're waiting for something to happen,
Doesn't
like
it?
they know.
Yeah, doesn't
What,
it
what was
just?
that 2012 movie? Only they had what do they call those things? They all got in those three great big submarine thingies.
Oh yeah, I
Remember
don't know what they called
uh,
them, but yeah, I know what you're
the
talking about.
they were called the arcs. The
Yeah,
arcs.
I mean, there's one there.
Um,
That's the one that's obviously no brainer. It's been modelled on Paris, right? You've got the Eiffel Tower there. I believe there's one modelled on. I think it's New York. I think there's one on London as well. Why? To what end? I don't have an answer for people. It's one of those kind of rhetorical questions. I'm just throwing it out there.
I've
Strange,
got a
eh?
couple. I've got a couple too here. Let's see. Psycho. The question was, do I have TV and movie favorites? I
We love our
really
TV
enjoyed the new
shows.
Star Trek.
Oh, brilliant! It's starting again soon,
It's
season 2.
starting again. I
You
really
watch any
like
of
that.
the?
And
You watch any of the kind of
I
short
wanted to throw
treks?
this out there too, so that I've started watching the Stargate series, which I never watched in the first place. I
NanoGirl,
watched,
NanoGirl. You'd never watched Stargate?
well, something else was going on. I don't know what the heck it was
Oh,
in my life, but I have to say that it's the perfect time for me to watch those. I really like them both. Somebody asked about the psychopathic infiltration. Oh my God, there's a 2 hour show.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know. And the thing that bothers me, that's such a powerful to put those two things together because you're seeing it in books, movies, TV shows. Has anyone seen, raise your hand out there, have you seen the new Sabrina on Netflix? The teenage witch? And they don't hide it. It's Baphomet is on the show. She ended up signing her soul over to Baphomet to save somebody. It is dark, and this is about a teenage girl, and she has to go to witch school, and the witches are eat people. They're cannibalistic. And I was trying to tell my son about this, and I go, "Oh my God, you can't believe this show!" And he's like, "Well, then don't watch it." I said, "But the point is, it's for teenage kids. It's on
Well, how
Netflix."
about this then? This is
Okay.
a new show that's coming out, and it's called The Masked Singer. Now, this looks like something straight out of Eyes Wide Shut, if you ask me. It's celebrities, from what I can make out, that
Oh
come onto
gosh.
stage and they sing, and they're obviously in costume, so the judges can't tell who they are. But you look at some of these things that are creeping about on here and tell me this isn't uber weird. And then here's the actual logo for it. Something out of Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut. It's like one of these kind of.
Okay, wait. Pull that up. Pull that up. Pull that up, please. Pull it in a little. Can you make it bigger?
There you go.
Wait. No, the other one. Go up. The one where you had the three in the
Uh,
picture.
yeah, hang on. This one here.
No, go up, please.
You're still a bit behind me, so.
Oh, okay. Oh, the one where you had three people
Yeah,
in
I've
the
got it.
picture.
Yeah, it'll come up on your screen in a second.
Okay. All right. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah.
I'm going back to.
Okay.
Don't
Yeah.
worry.
Okay. Yes. The one at yes. Okay. See the one in the white dress, whatever that is?
It's like a kind of like
A
a
horse?
horse or an elephant.
Oh my
I
God.
know. And then you've
Wow.
got this one here that's like
That looks very alien,
yeah,
very reptilian.
you've got half man, half like lion.
Yeah.
And this one here, this you'll see this one, the one with the antlers and the gas mask, very Baphomet-ish.
Yes.
And this is, like I say, this is a big show that's starting over in America right now, and it's going to be the UK version as well. So it's it's global. Bill Bean and I were talking about this the other night. This was the first time I'd really seen it when Bill brought it up. Here's one of these kind of furry things, one eye symbology going on with this one here. And
What's this called again?
The Masked Singer.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Well, like we said earlier in the show today, they're not hiding it anymore. They're full out announcing it. And all you have
Sorry,
to do
Nano.
is watch the Sabrina show, that there's like 8 or 9 episodes. It's there.
I absolutely, and of course the whole thing with this is they have the costumes on, so you can't guess who it is. But somebody made a shout there of blue chicken. Can I say it? Can I say it might be Corey Good or Jordan Sather? Can I say it? Yes, I said it. There you go. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
You can say it. You can say it if you want to.
I
It's your
couldn't.
show. Go for
I
it.
couldn't resist. Yeah, I'm putting money on that being Jordan Sather. Who said the blue chickens weren't real, folks?
Jordan say so. That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But no, this is a creepy show, right? We got onto
Yeah.
shows here, and this for me, this is one of the creepier ones I've seen in a while. So you've got Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which is,
Yes.
by all accounts, what you said there, with Baphomet and things in it. Pretty weird.
I've watched every episode. I have to say it's like I can't stop because I'm so horrified. I mean, and also the people that own Baphomet, the copyright, sued Netflix for using Baphomet.
Who owns Baphomet?
Somebody owns Baphomet.
Oh, get out of here. Who?
No, I'm not kidding. They
Oh,
sued
wow.
him, and then so I guess no one knows how much Netflix paid, so they can use Baphomet. They had to pay.
Wasn't
The
it?
statue
Hang on,
part
no,
of
I
it.
remember this. Was it not something ridiculous? They were trying to
Yeah.
sue them for something like 50 million. Netflix lawsuit.
So you can sue for evil copyright? So you
Baphomet.
copyright evil?
Yeah, and just in case people don't, just so we can, it's $50 million. There we go. It's going to come up in a second. Satanist group settles 50 million lawsuit with Netflix and copyright row over Sabrina the TV show.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. There you go.
Wow.
I thought Baphomet was a thing from the Bible or yeah, see that? Okay, see that thing right there? I thought that was like scripture or pictures from something from the past. How can you sue for that?
I get it. I get it. This statue here, this is the one that's either in Oklahoma or somewhere else off the top of my head. And it was commissioned by the Satanic Temple. Remember they put one
Oh,
up
yeah.
in Arkansas as well, home of Bill
That's
and
it.
Hillary. Apt place to put up a Baphomet. That's that one you can see in the little picture. But yeah, it says here the Satanic Temple claimed the entertainment giants copied its depiction of a goat-headed deity Baphomet in the chilling adventures of Sabrina.
And the thing is, I was shocked. Because every show usually has a hero or heroine. I was shocked that they let her sell her soul in the show.
Yes. Usually the talk of selling souls, that's people like me will bring that up on obscure YouTube videos, stuff like that, and question why the heck you hear so many pop stars talking about it. But it's the first time I can remember like a kid's show, NanoGirl.
That's what's so disturbing. Well, she didn't. She signed her soul over to the Dark Lord. Yeah. And then they say things like Satan be praised. They pray to Satan. No, I'm so serious, you guys. And I think Netflix. And by the way, speaking of the devil walking around in someplace, but I literally live walking distance from Netflix corporate office because I live right down the street from them.
I like Netflix, I must admit. I know some people say they're killing TV and stuff like that. I spend too much time on Netflix, NanoGirl.
Okay, what does NanoGirl think of the solar system moving into a new region of the galaxy and climate change? Well, I think climate change is something to gather money. I do think that we're going through some kind of planetary change, and things that we've gone through before, but we don't have access to our past history. And I don't think that the powers that be are surprised about this. I think this is a cyclical thing, and we've been through it before. And I think that they would never let a good crisis go to waste, right? So are we having different changes in our weather? Yes. Are we being affected from it? Yes. But I think it's something to do with our planet. I do.
Yep, and I would say, climate always changes, like Nano says there. It can be cyclical in nature as well. And I remember come 2012 time, all that stuff that was going on. And yeah, I bought right into the whole 2012, something big's going to happen. I remember also learning that that was us traversing. If you can picture the Milky Way, I'll put it up here. Solar system, Milky Way. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the best one to kind of demonstrate what I'm talking about here. Yeah, so if we look at this one here, you know, I can't remember if we were going from the northern hemisphere into the southern, but we were kind of traversing, if you can picture a kind of plane right coming out from the middle of the Milky Way there. We were going from the northern part into the southern part, or southern part into the north. We were crossing the equator. So theoretically, you're looking at a lot of energies coming out along that plane. And perhaps, again, I'm no astrophysicist. I've got a couple of them coming on to the show in the next few weeks. I'll be asking them. But they were saying some of the particles, some of the energy that we might be experiencing, it could affect the climate as well. Now, I can't say that's definite. Definitely not. But we know the whole climate change, global warming thing, they tried to politicize it, to control us, to make money, global government style. However, can energies or particles from space affect us? I would theoretically think so. But like Nano said, climate's always going to change. You know, whether it's the part of space we're in or just the cycles that go round. Think of it another way. I mean, what period has climate stopped changing when you look over the kind of history, the records that we're told exist? It's always been changing, NanoGirl, right? And I'm not saying that man doesn't affect it slightly. I don't think us raping the planet for all of its natural resources and spewing out all of the kind of filth that comes on the back of fossil fuels, I don't think that can do us any favours, Nano. But I don't think that's the contributing factor to any of the problems that we may or may not be facing today.
Yeah, I agree. I think everything you just said, I think you're absolutely right on. Absolutely.
I've seen somebody in the chat room talking about the Gatwick closure. Now, for anyone who doesn't know what that is, I'll bring a story up about that. That was one of our major airports, the second biggest airport in the UK. It was like closed down for 2 or 3 days over Christmas time. And we were told, Gatwick drones, there we go. We were told that it was closed down because drones had been sighted near the runways, and this had put planes, they'd grounded them. Lots of people.
What do you think? What do you think that was? Do you think those were drones?
I've no idea, Nano. I've no idea. Some people were saying UFOs and things, right? But I would imagine that Gatwick's in a really kind of busy location, and I would imagine people would have reported seeing things like that. The end up of the story was that the police actually think that people might have been seeing police drones, their own drones in the area. The police even admitted at one point that there may have been no drones in the area. Now, at the same time, there was also, our Home Secretary was talking about the fact that there was a new terror threat coming from Al-Qaeda, and they were planning on taking up the old doing spectaculars with aircrafts again. Part of me wondered whether they maybe had some intelligence that was leading them to think something may happen over the Christmas period. Maybe they thought the safest way to kind of close things down and without causing too much panic would be, well, there's drones in the sky. Maybe that was a convenient cover story. But I honestly don't know what was going on there, to be honest. I can't definitively say it was drones, it wasn't drones, it was a threat, it wasn't. Who knows, NanoGirl? I know a lot of people had their Christmases ruined over it, but what do you think?
Well, I thought it was funny at first because of the drone situation. I didn't want anyone to get hurt, but I just thought, about this whole AI and we all have control and all this. And then they said, oh, no, it wasn't really. And then they said, yes, it was. And then it came back the next day. What I ultimately thought was the technology is so advanced, so far ahead of sometimes people being able to control what other people do. Like maybe there were some drones there, maybe some people were playing around and they got them out there.
I'd been told, Nano, that when it came to like restricted airspace and things, there was like transmitters, signals, RF signals, and you just couldn't fly a drone into these places. You know,
That's what I've been told too, that the software has actually been modified now for all
yeah.
these new drones, that it's affected by the GPS, right? So if it gets anywhere near a flight zone, it just drops. It just
Yeah.
won't fly.
So, I mean, somebody in the chat room's kind of agreeing with me. They think it might have been a bomb threat. I think that might actually be along the lines. I think maybe they were worried something was going to go down. And even
Mm,
just it was yesterday, they had a big kind of raid somewhere in the Midlands in
yeah.
England where unfortunately someone lost their lives. There was like lots of armed police, a big operation. And I wonder, you know, if there has been something along those lines has been brewing. They've picked up on some intel. It's Christmas time. You don't want to panic people. You know, I know it sounds weird. Usually they take every opportunity they can to panic people, but usually they're the orchestrated ones. And maybe this was a genuine threat that they just didn't know whether it was fake or real or otherwise. And to stop the public freaking out at that time of year, maybe they thought the best thing is to come up with some cover story. Speculating on my part, Nano, I know, but while we're talking about this, it would
Yeah.
be almost remiss not to go to something that was happening around about the same time, which was the blue sky over New York. I know, I know. We discussed this ourselves off air.
Before the show. Yeah.
You haven't had a chance to talk to the audience on air about anything to do with this. What's your take on the magnificent light show that we've seen over New York and has caused so much debate, not just in conspiracy
Yeah.
circles, but everyone? What do you think?
I know. I first heard about it from our buddy Richie from Boston, because every once in a while, a guilty pleasure is to listen to Richie. I can't, but I digress.
Glitchy from Boston.
Richie from Boston. But the only thing I kept trying to think about was how big was this to light up the entire sky? I didn't think it was a UFO, and nothing like that. I never thought that. I didn't think a UFO. I didn't. I just kept thinking, what could light up the sky like that? And I know that there were some pictures that people found previous where that had exploded previously a couple of years ago, where it was the same blue, and it lit up the sky as well.
You see,
You
that's my
know,
thing with some of these videos, and we'll use Richie for example. I'm not picking on the
yeah,
guy, but you
right,
know, why didn't these people show you other transformer fires
yeah,
that would have either proven or disproven the whole blue light aspect to it? And the fact that none of them were keen to go and show you other fires that have taken place in the past, of which people sent me many photos and videos which confirmed the blueness in some cases. You know, that in itself, you have to wonder, well, why weren't they looking to show people, look, this is what it usually looked like. It's usually all bright white. There's never any blue. But like you say, I've seen ones that have been blue. Me personally, I think it's what they told us it was. And I know we're told all the time the mainstream media lies to us. I get that. But not everything's a conspiracy, Nano. Not in my opinion, anyway.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I agree. No, I decided not to think anything about it. I thought the color was really beautiful and it was amazing. I, I used to really think that UFOs, and we were going to find out the truth about all this and all this stuff. I don't think we're going to find out. We'll never hear it from the government. We'll never hear it from NASA. I never thought it was UFO or anything like that. I never thought it was a laser. I didn't think anything of that. It was really beautiful. But, I think the sadder part of all this is we don't believe anybody anymore. I mean, so many of us out here, we've been lied to so much that we don't even know when somebody actually tells the truth. It's like that with the little kid that cried fire. Remember that? Or yeah, was it fire or whatever?
The kid who cried
And
wolf.
cried wolf. That's
Yep.
it. Cried wolf. And then about the third time, you're like, yeah, whatever. It
I
was
mean,
kind of entertaining. I mean, some of this stuff is entertaining. I avoid all the negative screeching, yelling. I have other people that yell even louder than Richie from Boston that I don't listen to anymore, and I used to, and I really miss them. I miss when they're calm. but they're so screamy yelly. And the problem is that they're selling stuff.
That takes us back to where we begun, right?
Yeah.
How do you tell what's real anymore?
I think, unfortunately, you have to turn it off.
Mm-hmm. That's what I've had to do.
Yeah.
Yep, as somebody who's been on YouTube for absolutely years, and I mean,
Yeah.
I've got a kind of, I call it almost like a false subscriber count, because I've got 90,000 odd subscribers, but I know for a fact maybe only 10% of them probably active. And that's because over the years, I've covered so many different topics, so many different guests, Nano, that people will sign up when I do a week of shows on one topic, and then they realise the week after that, I'm not only concentrating on that topic, so they go away. But then I win a new audience because I cover a different topic, right? So I know for a fact my subscriber count, it's not true. And honestly, I'm not putting myself down or anything. You just need to look at the figures that watch the shows. I mean, lucky if I get 10% of that actual 90,000. So for me, who's been on there a while, I'm the first to admit, when I first started out on YouTube, before I'd kind of had a bit of experience living through some of these hyped kind of scenarios, I probably would have been on there posting about this. But at the same time, I would have absolutely given all different sides of it. I'd have said, yeah, it could look like Project Bluebeam. It could be something in the sky above that we're not seeing. It could be coming from this source on the ground like we're seeing here in this image. And just give everyone every possible angle to think about and to consider. Because unless you're there, and unless you have really definitively lived through it, seen it, been there to witness it, how can anyone really say, look, this is what it is, and don't be listening to these people who say it's nothing to do with this because they're paid by George Soros and all this nonsense, But I can see how that happens, and we were talking about this last night. Imagine waking up now, and I hate using that term, but imagine first coming into like YouTube and trying to make sense of what's going on. It's difficult because there's so
yes,
much
you were gonna
information now.
or even waking up right now,
Yeah.
or whatever word you want to use,
Yeah.
or becoming aware. It's probably a better, less condescending term, but
Yeah, exactly. Very good way of putting it. Exactly.
how mind-boggling would it be?
Mm-hmm.
And you have all these people, you have all these levels. Now you have access to all these levels, different levels. Like, case in point, hopefully I don't offend anybody here with mentioning the Q guy, but if you look at those of us who've been doing this for a really, really long time, then you look at people a little less, and then the newbies. I kind of love the newbies because they're all so excited and ready to roll, and then all this is brand new and they love it, and I love that. I love that a lot because it inspires me. And the hard part is not to get cynical and to look at it as fresh.
And well, at this point, I want to give a big shout out to UniRock
Yes.
as well, because there's people who can make mistakes, and then there's people who are knowingly trying to pull the wool over people's eyes, and that's where somebody like Uni, he's got a thick skin as our Uni, and I'm glad he's out there doing what he does, because me personally, I couldn't do what Uni does. I see what Uni sees, but I think YouTube needs people like UniRock and the others who are calling out the bullcrap, Nano. Because it's like a conspiracy industrial complex. And the truth is far from their first concern. And really, it's about clicks. Even some of the conspiracies you see, I'm of the firm belief that they even go and create sock accounts on Twitter, things like that, put stuff out so that they can then report on it. I can't prove that, obviously. However, that's the kind of thing that's really kind of scunnered me. It's almost made me back off from looking at places like YouTube until I came across Uni. And I know it sounds like I'm giving the guy a big head. I love the guy, on and off air. Can't speak highly enough about him. But he really kind of made me sit back and go, thankfully, somebody, at last, I'm not going mad. There's people out there who see what I'm seeing. So I want to give a big shout out to him, as I always do. And you can catch Uni here on YouTube, UniRock 2, UniRock TV main channels. We need somebody like him to do it. You need to be held to account. Me too. I done an interview a long time ago with somebody called the Red Dragon Ambassador. When I first started,
I remember that.
Yep. When I first started out, I thought this dude was the answer to all of our prayers. And no harm to the guy. I'm not, having a go at him. He's not here to defend himself. My point is, I fell for one of these things as well. I'm not perfect. None of us are. But it only becomes wrong when you're shown the truth, yet you double down and keep going and refuse to accept the truth despite the fact you've been shown it. And so many
Hey,
people out there right now, one you mentioned, Glitchy, that's one that comes to mind. All these people that are still pushing Q as well. These people know what they're doing, Nano. I'm sorry, but they do.
yeah.
And that, for me, is where it crosses the line from being misinformation into dangerous disinformation. And I don't care what Q tells you or pamphlet tells you about disinformation being necessary. No, lies are never necessary, folks. No.
And since we're telling the truth from the past, let's tell everybody who talked you into getting Richie from Boston on your show. It was me.
No, Nano, I was no. Hey, I
Or
was.
didn't he? Did he reach out to you? Or but
No, but
I like,
listen,
oh,
you just put me onto him, and I'd seen
that's it. Yeah,
you didn't. I went there myself,
we both did.
a long time ago.
That was hilarious.
Mm,
Oh my God. I
yep,
was so excited to be on the show with Richie. I remember that. Oh my God, Richie from Boston.
yep,
Yep,
exactly,
yep.
exactly. And again, I'm not here to call out other YouTubers or anything like that. I'm more here to. I'm part of the community. I'm part of the people that are usually in the chat room, right? Same as you are. And we're all just trying to make sense of what's going on in the end of the day. We're not any more special than anyone else because we're sitting here on the screen as opposed to just chilling in the chat. And I think we all have to help each other, and especially the new ones coming into all of this.
I like I said, I think our job is not to become cynical. That's the last thing a newbie needs to, a new person needs
It's
to
the way I
hear.
feel.
Yeah.
Last night on Freaky Friday, I was sitting listening to myself thinking, am I just becoming a cynical old man? Am I even cut out for this anymore? I find like I'm just moaning about all of these good conspiracies that come along. The only problem is when you start digging below the surface, employing some logic, and stepping back and waiting for more facts to come in. A lot of the conspiracies we think are conspiracies, maybe they're not.
I agree. I agree. I agree. I think it's been a very I didn't you guys talk about this last night
Yep,
where
yep,
the alternative media has been hijacked.
yep,
It's been minimized. We've been absorbed by them.
yep.
We probably walked right into the door and they shut it. And now we're in we're in the other side of the looking glass thinking, okay, I need to figure out where I am, stay grounded, get on the other side of this and figure out what's the truth and the least amount of involvement from these turkeys that I can have.
Yep. That's about it, NanoGirl. You're about right there. It's like there's the alternative media, and then there's like another part of that as well that never used to be there. But almost 2.5 hours we've been here.
I
Any more
know.
questions before we let these great people? I can't believe we actually sustained like near enough 250 on average watching this. That absolutely. I know it'll make Nano's day as well. Makes my day. Absolutely. So I can't thank everyone enough for tuning in. I really can't.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for showing up. Is this the first live show I've done with you? This is the
Yeah.
first live one, right?
Not going to be the last, though, I hope.
Oh no, of course not. This was really fun. You guys made it so fun and easy, and
And we'll get you
thank
on
you for being
camera.
so sweet.
We'll get you on
Huh?
camera eventually as well. We just kind
Yes.
of rushed this one together. And I didn't even have time to put together like a cool graphic of you or anything like that. That's on me. That's my bad. I hold my hands up for that. I'm still learning this. You're learning this. And it's nice, though, to sometimes not have that kind of time restraint. We can just chill out and go for as long as we need or as short as we need. So I think the weekends, this is kind of a good kind of format. I like this. Plus, you don't work weekends, right? So
I know this is such a great time for us to be able to talk to each other. I know it cuts into your weekend. I'm sorry about that, but yeah, it's so much easier for me because I work 7 to 4 over here, which is bad for your time.
hey, your working thing, now that we've got this available, let's not concentrate on the times we can't have together and the time we can. And of course, you're going to be coming on to the show back on TFR. I believe it's What date is it again,
Is it
Nano?
the 21st of it's the holiday, it's this January holiday,
Yeah,
Monday
it's a
holiday,
Monday,
which
isn't it? Yes.
I think it's the 21st. Is it Martin Luther King's birthday? I think so. So that's the day I'm coming on. So
21st,
I got to figure
yes.
out a good subject. I haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah, we've got the 21st. You'll be back on. I can't wait for that. I'm
Awesome. So
counting
we're going
down
to
the
have to, oh,
days.
I know what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to a conference next week. They're going to talk about 5G.
Oh,
I know,
nice. Before
and
you get
where it
back into
really
that,
is. And then
Mr. Stonley in the chat says I talk funny. That's just this daft Scottish accent that I've been afflicted with. I can't help it. I really can't. I was going to try and put on an Australian accent there, but sometimes that sounds like Welsh. So it's a burden, Nano. I'm stuck with this funny accent. What can I say?
everyone loves your accent.
That's what I thought. Mr. Stonley thinks it's. I hope he doesn't think it's funny. Like bad
No,
funny.
it's great.
So
And
tell us
to
more,
and
5G. Tell us more. Where's this? What's happening? And more importantly, when are you coming to tell us all about it?
oh, what? Are you talking to me now? Because
Yep.
you were talking.
The 5G conference.
Oh, the 5G. Well, basically, I want to know where it is because they're going to be ramping it up in Japan for the Olympics, right? Isn't that be a big part of the Olympics?
Yeah, I believe
Yeah,
that's where it's going to be. Yeah.
yeah, and then I think there's another conference, but that will be for the show, hopefully in February, about I think flying cars or something. So I want to hear about that. But I'm also interested in Trump's Space Force. So
Space Force.
I'd like to do some research on that.
Oh, please. And we
Like
could talk about Asgardia as well.
Asgardia.
Oh, NanoGirl. Asgardia. Probably one of my favourite topics that I've not really covered on a full show yet. But
Okay.
Asgardia is the world's first space nation. And if I pull this up here,
I do know about that. Yeah,
yes,
where they want to supplant like the Constitution.
there is already, I believe, over 200,000 people on this planet who are citizens of Asgardia. And Asgardia, from what I'm led to believe, is a microsatellite that is in orbit around the planet. I'm not making this up, folks. You are go and check this out. I don't want you to take my word for anything. Go and look at this. But they've got their own national anthem. They have got their. In fact, it's a British politician is one of their kind of. I think he's like I can't remember what his job is, but he used to go out with one of the cheeky girls. He was part of the UKIP party over here. But they talk about conquering the solar system and going out further and conquering the cosmos. It sounds weird, NanoGirl. I know it sounds weird, but people have got their digital records uploaded to a satellite. And if we go here, this actually, it says country. There has been China is the leading kind of number of citizens that have applied to be citizens of Asgardia. 128,000 Chinese people have applied to be citizens. From America, 54,547. Turkey are third with 43,000 people applying. Then it's Brazil, 24,000. The UK, 20,000 people from Britain have become citizens of Asgardia. And it's the top 10 countries that I've pulled up here on an image that people will be looking at right now. So yeah, this is something that we could definitely do a show on Space Force, and we could probably mix in Asgardia as well, right?
Oh, sure. We could mix in everything.
Yep.
That sounds good to me. I heard the song. Was it
Yeah,
that
yeah,
did
yeah.
they have this really stupid, I mean, lovely song that goes with it?
Yeah, it's absolutely lovely. Here we go. There's Asgardians around the world. There is 17,621 residents, right? I don't know quite what that means. The population of Asgardia so far is 1,039,497. Now, the other
Wow.
applications are obviously still in process or they're being considered or whatever. It says Asgardia was created with three top goals in mind: to ensure the peaceful use of space I like that. To protect the Earth from space hazards, and to create a demilitarized and free scientific base of knowledge in space. Asgardia also has a long-term objective of setting up habitable platforms in space and building settlements on the moon. We believe that the creation of a new legal platform for the exploration of near-Earth and deep space is crucial to keep pace with humanity's rapid technological and scientific expansion of planet. Universal space law and astropolitics have to replace the current outdated international space law and geopolitics. Comes from their own website.
Pretty interesting.
Yep.
I think the Geos, not the Geos, I think that Melissa and
Truth Stream Media.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think they did something on Asgardia too. They have a cute little well, they have a YouTube on it.
Yep, they do. They made an absolutely brilliant video about this. I'll pull it up and I'll drop a link in the chat room for people. There it is. There.
All right, I first heard about this one a few weeks ago on the Truth is Stranger Than Fiction channel. Asgardia Rising, the new space kingdom.
Asgardia is a united supranational space state open to all people on Earth.
Asgardia will possess a space fleet to defend humanity and planet Earth from threats emanating from outer space. It will open its embassies on all continents. We are not the best, but we are the future.
So that's 40 seconds odd of Aaron and Melissa Dyke's video that comes
Right.
from Truth Stream Media. I've put a link in the chat room for people to go and check that out their own kind of time. I urge everyone to go and check out that video and every other kind of video that Aaron and Melissa put together. Possibly two of the most talented people on YouTube, probably, NanoGirl,
Yeah.
when it comes to putting together these films. But I'm lucky enough to know both of them as friends, and on and off air, it's exactly the same. They are what you see when you watch one of their videos. Brilliant people, just like myself and Nano, down to earth and just trying to get to the bottom of things. But Asgardia, definitely something we should talk about on our show.
I'm signed. I'm ready to go. I think, and again, this kind of goes in with what we were talking about trying to report on something or talk about something that we feel is real, like it's tangible. It's really there.
Absolutely. And just a big shout out to Dodger. Absolutely love you. And Dodger loves the NanoGirl as well. Thank you very much, Dodge. And I believe, hopefully, I'm just trying to see if it's going to come up. You see, I'm meant to have a big flashy kind of thing comes up on the screen, Nano. There it is. Yep. When somebody hits the super chat, you can hear a noise in the background just now, Nano. It'll come up on the screen in a moment. So, yeah. I think everyone really enjoyed this tonight, Nano. I certainly have. The viewers have. And I think we should do it again sometime real soon.
I agree, and thank you again for being such an awesome audience. And 2 weeks of our Economist friends, and I think we're ready to launch into 2019 and give them heck.
Absolutely. What does 2019 hold? Absolutely anything that we can imagine.
Yeah.
Because I really do believe it, we're so important when it comes to creating our own reality. And if we want to concentrate on all the negativity and all the crap that these governments around the world throw at us, guess what? We start to manifest it. The same way that the Rothschilds want us to manifest all of the magic symbols that are on the front of their cover and all of the crap that's held on the pages in between. We can literally change the world ourselves. That's how powerful we are. Always turn that frown upside down. And even when it gets really, really crazy and it seems really, really dark, always remember that the darkest part comes right before the dawn. Well, that's quite clever, see, like that. See, nice positive thought to lead us out tonight.
I love it. And can I just say one thing here? I wanted to respond to somebody. They had made a comment earlier how should we get through this? Like, what's a spiritual tool? And I think that's part of it. I think, believe me, I have to remind myself every day. I'm not any saint over here, but I think trying to stay grounded and figuring out what's your spiritual space and trying to keep that where you want it to be. You know, like you said, what you think, what you do, what you write, how you act, you manifest, you shoot an arrow into the future and manifest it.
Absolutely. And, if there's people out there probably physically, they might live alone, stuff like that. And it can feel lonely even when you've got millions of people around you these days. TFR, we've got the chat room there. I'm on Monday to Thursday. Got Freaky Friday as well. And then when I'm not on there, I'm usually hanging out in Unirock's live stream in the chat room there. Going to be doing a lot more live streams on here as well. You can hang out in the chat room. My point is, folks, you're never alone. Absolutely never alone. So always remember that. We're all one big team here. All equal. And nobody's special, especially not me. So absolutely, we can all get through this. I truly believe it, Nano.
I don't think there's any accident we came here during this time, and it's part of our spiritual journey, and we're not alone. And I think we have our own spiritual guide or voices or whatever you want to call them, that's helping to guide us if we stop to listen. And I think the big thing we have to do is, I would agree with this stupid social media thing. Step away for a few minutes and get some fresh air.
Absolutely. And if all else fails, just buy yourself a cuddly Chewbacca and give it a little cuddle like I do.
Oh my God, I don't believe it.
That was from one of our listeners. That was a listener sent me that. Isn't that just the cutest? Unirock's got busy, but I need to give this Wookiee some sound effects, right?
I think you do.
And for anyone out there,
Cute.
We had my problems on YouTube, and so many of you have come together to help me on Patreon and things like that. And we've also now got memberships here on KBS, on the actual YouTube channel. And I'm going to post some little emojis in the chat room, which you will be allowed to, or you get given access to if you become a member. I've not even checked out how much it is, folks. I've got a Chewbacca, I've got a Yoda, I've got a Bigfoot, and I've got a smoking Elon Musk. So the more subscribers we get to the channel, the more emojis we can have, and obviously the more live streams we'll get doing as well. So with that said, Nano, I'm going to give you the last word tonight because you have been the star of this show.
Oh my gosh, we have been the star. Again, thank you everyone. Have a really wonderful, fabulous, fantastic weekend. And I will talk to you soon, Kev. Blessings to you and your family.
Absolutely. So folks, from me and NanoGirl, good night, God bless, and remember, keep it real.
Not y'all.